folks, bro. By the way, I'm gonna put it there
We
on you.
are live.
These are your folks, bro.
This is the Code Breakers. This is Paradox.
Oh, this is DC. What's
I see
going
folks,
on,
y'all
man?
already turned up.
Hit the date, man. Let's get that date on out the
It's
way
April
one time.
13th, 2025. We headed into spring. Depending on where you are in the world, it's still cold in some places.
Man, we had, you know what's so
We got
crazy?
beautiful summer.
When the
You
cherry,
already got
when
beautiful
the
weather.
cherry blossoms, right? I took your niece out to the cherry blossoms. In fact, she's out there now, right now. But we went out and looked at the cherry blossoms last week. It was beautiful weather the whole week, man. It was
Oh,
crazy. But now this week, I'm like, God damn,
wintertime.
we in September? we in October or something? It was crazy this week. I'm like, damn, man. Yeah, it was wild. But yeah, man. Yeah, things are just going on, and we're just gonna keep on keeping on, brother. But I don't even know where I'm at though.
That's fine. It'll come back around. But we were discussing Europe and the world order basically. But a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So we was talking about the economy and immigration and how that's like a bipartisan dance between both groups and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you use. I mean, in this country, obviously, and in many countries around the world who deals with immigration, at least, you use it like anything else to move politics. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's labor, and it's effective. It's a way of doing your labor force for generally cheap for the people that's here for too long. That move in and out of these type of circles is needed, and that's something that hasn't been said, on a broad spectrum. But that's primarily what it's for, by the way. But yeah.
Yeah, well, if you don't manage immigration, depending on the people that you're bringing in here and your ideology, you can lose the country from the way it looks, as people would say. And so there's a lot of forces at play, of course. Because a lot of your top universities, your top class people, look a certain way. And as that changes, it's going to trigger people, obviously. And it's a push and pull, because you got people who are like, bruh, we need to keep what do they say? You got people coming from all over the world to use our universities to get educated.
Yeah.
And then you have two sides of that. One side is like, cool, that go back home, do what they do. You have another side is like, yo, you come over here, we educate you and turn you to an engineer or something. We're keeping you here. And it doesn't matter what you look like, we're keeping you here.
Yeah,
and so it's always a push and pull between those two thought processes when it comes to a lot of that. It's in itself it's fascinating, to be honest with you. And I think
how can I get things done, and how can we build things in a more efficient manner and get it done quickly? No distractions, no complaints. Let's get the thing done, and we out, and let's go to the next thing. It's a very efficient way of getting things done. Very, very efficient. We help you, you help us. We scratch your back, you scratch ours. Quid pro quo. That's what it is. We'll waive immigration to you. You cannot vote yet. You got to still work the system to get to that particular process. But that's one of the biggest lies, by the way. A lot of people believe that illegal immigrants can vote, but that's not.
I don't care about that. That's just.
Well, but that's major, because if you believe that some of these people that you see building up the roads and stuff like that, and that they don't have papers on them and that they're illegal, as some people say, then yeah, it does make a difference if you believe, thinking that these people have some kind of right to vote.
Yeah, even with a green card. But you're talking about
even with a green card, by the way. Even with a green card, Paradox.
But you're talking about low information people.
Paradox. See, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't It doesn't matter if propaganda is believed by 50% of the people, then it does its job, especially when you're talking about politics. Especially when you're talking about politics. That's what it's for. It's for you to believe it. It's for you to move a certain way. And you create these.
I personally don't care if they can or can't. It doesn't really matter. But I know there's propaganda out there, but I don't really, like I said, there's low information people. I mean, who are we talking to right now when we say that? Really, I mean, people know that they can't vote, obviously. So who are you trying to counter? Elon?
Like I said, there are people that believe that these people can vote, and it drives a narrative. But
yeah, I get what you're talking about. You're talking about just the people who actually voted like in the last election. Yeah, that's true. I was just, the way you just said, like you was informing somebody. I was just trying to figure who you trying to inform about it. Like,
I ain't trying to inform. I'm saying it. I'm saying, well, no. It is. I don't take it for granted that people already know that. Now, that's the difference. I don't take that for granted because I don't think that most people know that. I think that most people believe that
most people don't know shit.
But I'm saying there are certain people that believe that if, as long as you have a green card, that you can vote. I've seen it. I've seen people argue about it.
I don't even know if most people know what a green card is, bro. What are we talking about right now? What are we talking about?
But I'm just saying.
I don't think most people care
to the immigration office,
here, who's not here.
Do you know how hard it is for citizenship? Have you been to the
very difficult?
Have you taken the test? I guarantee you 85 to 90% of people can't even pass the entrance level test for citizenship. And that's people that's born and raised here. Hell, you know that. You got to be very informed. You got to know about America to get up in these parts, man. You're gonna have to learn a little. You're gonna have to know a little something. That's for sure.
But yeah, I don't think that's yeah, I mean, maybe it moved the needle a little bit when it was pushing that information out there, possibly. I don't know about how much, but they are pushing it though.
When we talk about the difference, between 72 and 75 million, I say that needle is a very, very fine line, bro. It really is. And especially
if I looked up the top 10 reasons why people voted, I don't think illegals voting is on that list. That's all I'm saying.
Immigration is. And that's part of it.
As a whole, but
that's part of it, though. That's part of
illegals
that's
voting.
Part of what drives it.
That.
Paradox. Yeah. People say it all the time. These people are getting rights. They're getting this. They're getting that. They take care of them. They don't take care of us. I mean, part, it drives it.
Yeah, if you just say immigration as a whole, that's different. I'm not talking about that.
But it's part of the immigration argument. Okay, so when people talk about immigration, what are they talking about? What do they normally say? Just from your point of view, what do you hear
about which immigration? Illegal immigration?
Yeah, like when people use that, when people say, "I'm voting to send those people back home." You know, we both laughed at that, right? But that's what I'm saying.
That's voting. Maybe voting illegally might be one of the reasons why it got people's attention. Possibly, but
over the last 40 years.
But one of the things back is not a new thing.
Since Reagan has been,
don't take much to get that going.
Paradox, but this is how I'm saying how it's framed, right? What's important? Right. Since Reagan has been the president, since when we first came into life.
Right.
So we had Reagan, Bush 1, Clinton, then there was Bush 2, 2 terms, Obama, then we had Trump, and then we had Biden, and now we have Trump again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out of all those Democratic presidents, and we had more Republican terms basically, because we had Reagan 2 terms too. So I forgot to say that. 2 terms Reagan. Who you think deported the most? And it's not even close. It's not even close, bruh. It's not even close. As far as enforcing immigration laws, it's not close, bruh. These are just facts. This is what they did and what they didn't do. I don't care what they say. I don't care how benevolent they acted. This and that other. Dude, Clinton and Obama alone, bruh. just wipes the floor out of all of those. Oh, Carter, I forgot Carter. Well, no, Carter was after. Carter came before we see. So Carter, there's Carter before we got it, but forget Carter. Carter, I'm talking about from Reagan on out. So basically, Reagan was if you looked at Reagan's immigration policies and the way he ran it, but he'd be kicked out of office now. If you format it into somebody being a Democrat doing the same things that he did, as far as letting illegals in and being in this country and getting certain things that they can get done, a lot of the movement that you see now, the green cards, all that, the way that policy hasn't changed since 1980. It's been pretty much locked in. Letting these people work with visas and stuff like that, having that time frame, being laissez-faire when they basically overextend their stay. The same thing with Elon. Elon overstayed his welcome. But of course, he got citizenship now. But I'm just saying, beforehand, he did that too. It's something that's well known. I mean, it's not something that we went to school with certain kids when we started to see Hispanic kids around. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, where are all these people coming from? You know, like they started to go to school. You know, they come. You know, hey, my name is Gregory. You know, Gregory Rodriguez or some shit. You know, but now we see them all up in the Delphi, all up over there where TikTok is, or Riggs Road, all over the place, Bladensburg. You know, Hyattsville. Hell, what's the school up there? Hyattsville. It's damn near halfway Hispanic now. Bladensburg High. That's what. Yeah, Bladensburg. That shit like 50-60% Hispanic now. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, they got to learn Spanish to even graduate from high school out of there. I mean, it's just what I'm trying to say is, bro, like it's part of the fabric of what this country has become. So, like, what are you doing now? Like, you're going to make it into a cultural thing, but the truth has been during those times that you're talking hard, but you're soft on immigration, technically. And it's the same thing right now, even with Trump and all the blusters that you see, it still is basically behind who? It's still basically behind Biden when it comes down to the deportations, to the numbers. That's what I'm saying, to the actual numbers of sending people back home, right? We're just talking about sending people back, not the talk. The tough talk has always been on the Republican side, but the policy side of actually the doing part has always been the Democratic side because they're responding to the tough talk. So they're going to be like, oh, we're going to be tough on crime. We're going to be tough on the deportations and stuff like that. We're going to elicit ICE as a weapon, as apparatus. We're going to fund them. We're going to increase their funding. You know what I'm saying? The funding increases when they're there. The funding is going to increase when we have police on the streets. That's the reason why it became hypocritical. People that were really into social justice, they're like, well, hold on now. Like, these people are talking about trying to really be open and be all loving and benevolent, but these are the people that are doing the most damage when it comes down to the criminal activity, the jailing, the housing. That's the reason why what's the reason why you never could vote for Biden? What's the reason why, Paradox?
There's a whole list of them, but the crime bill is on the top.
Right. But I'm saying the crime bill you just couldn't do it because we had relatives, we had people in our family that were directly affected. You was directly affected by the crime bill, basically. Like, it had a direct effect on your family, bruh. So that's the reason why people just said, I just can't do that. That's understandable. You see what I'm saying? He was tied to that, which he admitted and he apologized, by the way. Let me get out there. That's not whole. I'm not going to try to relitigate what's already done. But I just don't think that people understand that. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's not something that is understood. People would think it's the opposite way, that most of the deportations that are done are under Republican administrations instead of Democratic administrations. But technically, just like what did Trump come out to do this week? What did he actually say? And I'm glad he said it out loud. So what did he say? We're going to take it easy. I mean, just straight up. We just, we can play the tape. He just told him, look, man, these people, we're gonna get them chance to citizenship.
Well, we need labor, so
however you want to say it, though. I'm just saying, though, when the farmers or whoever makes the call, people didn't care, though. I'm saying people didn't care. They say, we'll work it. We don't care. Send them home. If they're illegal, they're illegal.
It's not real. It's not real.
You misunderstand. See, there is what's
I know
real.
you know. I know you. I know you know that. So my point is that when you're trying to get elected, as an example, you do what you got to do to get elected. But once you get elected, and now you're in charge of the system, you're gonna get phone calls, and you and your followers can believe whatever they want to believe, but there's a balance, and I can give you some of what you want, but when I start getting the phone calls because this isn't getting done, then it overrides what you want. Now you can make that an issue, and you can keep pushing it until it all collapses. But clearly, no one's gonna let that happen, obviously. So your wants will meet to a point, and you would accept it, and you move on with it. And as the system needs, what we need. I've heard different numbers, but at least 2 to 3 million. We need at least 2 to 3 million immigrants into America every year. Period. Hard stop.
Fresh bodies.
So what that looks like?
Say
What
fresh
that's what I
bodies. We
look
need
like.
fresh bodies, right? Don't we need fresh bodies? Okay.
Well, I won't say we need it. It's just that if you want things to be what they are now, you need it. So you have financial positions where this is what it looks like if you want to try to go back to the 1950s. This is what it's going to look like. Things will cost more, and you won't have Walmart won't exist no more, basically, right? You won't have no more cheap goods. You won't have so everything that we're accustomed, cheap credit, etc. Everything that we're accustomed to now, are people truly willing to sacrifice it to do a reset? And people ask Trump to do it, and he will try to do it, but you saw what happened with the markets when he's trying to do it. Are people willing to truly take that pain? Are you willing to sacrifice your elderly and let them just say, "Hey, we're gonna have to do what we got to do"? So unfortunately, it's gonna happen. We can't help you right now. We're trying to shift this thing to a certain way. You have people, like you said, people have to have the fortitude. I don't know if we're watching it play out, so I'm enjoying it. I'm watching it play out real time because, like you said, from a Steve Bannon's position as an example.
So stop all the tough talk.
He wants literally
just stop
zero.
all the tough talk.
Listen to me.
Just
He
stop all
wants
the tough talk.
zero immigration.
Okay.
Listen to me.
Fine,
He wants zero
fine,
immigration, right?
fine.
Trump said, "Fine, I got you, Steve. We're gonna do zero immigration." And then what happened? The entire tech sector said, "Look, that's great. I love it. Great. Whatever you say, but these H1s, these H1Bs, yeah, we gonna need that." And then what you do is you say, "Well, if we don't do that, well, India and China and X, Y, and Z will do this. Then this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and blah 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 blah."
So
it's complicated. Okay. It's a lot.
No. I ain't on that. I don't care how complicated it is.
You ain't on what?
You stand up.
Let them stand on
it. They said.
Come on, bro.
No.
Politics. What are we doing right now?
I know what it is. I said what it is. First of all,
what space are you trying to put me in? I'm giving you reality, and you're trying to do some jujitsu.
I'm not trying. I'm talking about you talking that tough talk.
Stand on
it. Just for one administration, just stand on it. Just stand on it. You got this lady, whoever that lady is that they made, she come out with a cowboy hat. You got Dr. Phil out here. Yeehaw, we rounding them up. All this like they rawhide or some shit. And it looks good. It looks good. Hold on. Now, Democrats, because they're bitch made and they hide in the dark and they do the hide hand. I'll let you get off with that. They shoot you sneaky. They like James Bond. You don't know you're dealing with a double agent. Okay, I got you.
If you don't know it, you're watching right in your face. I'm not making it up. Shit.
This ain't right. This is diversion too, though, bruh. Because what it is, man, they soft on it. Because guess who benefits though? Because a lot of their constituencies are what? Hold on. Just walk with me, bruh. Farming. Where's most of the farming done? In the States. Most of the farming are done. California, right? Which is still basically South. Texas, on out to what? Maryland and other places that are below the so-called winter states, right? Most of the farming is done in those particular states, right? Southern states, would you admit that most of the states are basically Southern? That most of the farming takes place in? Florida?
Yeah, I mean we can pull it up, but yeah, California produces most of X, Y, and Z, and then of course the breadbasket, Nebraska and Iowa and all those places do
Texas.
their part, and then Florida has some stuff that they do, obviously with fruits and shit like that, and
See,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
see, you want to see, you want to, you do, yeah, it's a good job. I gotta give it to you, man. You know what I'm saying? That's good.
Texas is gonna be more oil. I mean, it's gonna be really a lot of oil, obviously, but I'll have to look it up.
No,
The
but I'm
crop
saying
that everybody has.
the labor part though. The labor, they got a large
Well, you
labor,
need a mix. You
a
need a
large.
mix.
But I'm saying they got a
You have a
large.
mixed labor.
No,
You have
half
illegal.
of that state,
You have immigrants. You
half
have
of that state now is Latino. If I looked it up properly, half of
yeah,
that state is
about
now
half.
Latino.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it is
yeah.
not even mostly WASP anymore.
No.
That you know they are a majority minority ruled state now at this present moment. That's
Yeah.
facts. You see what I'm saying? In Florida, if Florida is not there, they're close. So I mean that's already done, and we already know that of course Tejas used to be basically ran by Santa Ana and them. It was Mexico. Remember the Alamo? There you go. It was Mexico. So these people are home. They're not foreign to the land. It ain't like they're not home already. So I know I understand all that. That's reality of the whole situation.
Right.
They never went
Right.
anywhere. You know, they just
Yeah,
undocumented.
It went anywhere.
It's
just lines moving because of wars, basically.
Right, exactly. Lines got drawn and they were still there. So like, what the fuck you want me to do about
right.
it?
And so, like
right.
I told you before about a lot of people, just because you're spewing out a lot of shit, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't, because the reality of it is that all these people join the military, they all support the system, they all contribute, and unfortunately, your belief system or whatever you think things should be is just not real. That's all. That's all I'm saying. You know, it's not a. People have a lot of fantastical ideas and thoughts. That's all I'm saying. But it's not coming into fruition. It's not backed by anything. It's not checked by anything. None of that shit. So, and like you said, even as you know, when things really go, if things ever went left, all those voices go away anyway. Because it doesn't matter at that point. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, the value. I have to be careful with the value of certain people talking about stuff. Especially when it comes to Latino people. I mean, it's literally a joke, to be honest with you. It's literally a joke. That's all I'm saying. Something like that. Like, it's ridiculous.
They're literally Americans. Like I mean, it's literally they literally, no matter where you put them, they're literally Americans, bro. Like, okay, bro, I got you, but yeah, just relax. Like,
I mean, it's like you said. Like you said,
they are blood and soil too.
But you do want to have a. I mean, I guess the argument I'm supposed to make is that how do you look at what a nation state is?
How do you frame it?
And
how you frame it
too. And should people who are in your nation be, you know, all have the same, roughly the same thought pattern, and then deviate from there? And if you don't have that, does that mean you have a nation? Can you hold on to a nation because you have so many different ideas and different groups, and you're not assimilating it to anything? So yeah, you have of course all that's at play because you're trying to hold on to something, basically a nation. And it is a question that you have to ask. You know, people are not assimilating to a society that you keep bringing in here. Does that cause some interior issues, possibly, if you're running a nation and you're projecting forward? You know what I mean? Because as the entire world catches up and, you know, things more equalize, I think it'll get, like you said, things are going to get more interesting at that point, right? There's going to be more pressure put on people who at one time had the ability to, you know, reach their powers across the globe. And as those powers diminish or change, it does have impact, I think, back home. The reason why I like what Steve Bannon was saying is because I would love to see America at this point in time, you know, survive on its own for the most part. You know, so we're going to close off immigration 100% across the board, legally and illegally. I just thought that he said that, man, it just made me laugh so much. I would love for that. You know why? Because I want Americans to get. Man. You know why? Because the thing is this, man. You don't want nobody thinking, right? You want everybody working and focused or surviving, not thinking. Man. Not thinking.
Especially in an economy as fast as this.
Yeah, very, very fast.
You got to be efficient.
But if you turn it off and say, you know what,
things done fast as possible. Period.
Right. I need to make all you people who don't really know what real sacrifice is, it's over for us. Is my whole point. Is that unless you have a calamity, it's pretty much you know, you already have nations where people are in place to be sacrificed.
Right.
You take
Exactly
advantage
right.
of that because that's what we've been doing. That's how we got so big, and that's how we
Right.
have what we have. There's consequences to exploiting those people, right? And the example is what we're talking about right now:
What we're talking
immigration
about
and
now. Yep.
inflation and prices and costs and living and the rich are getting richer. And it's like, well, yeah, you keep using slave labor. That's how this
That's
works.
that's why
So
the
good
tariffs
luck.
hurt. That's why the tariffs hurt you more than it hurt us. Like you're hurting yourself by doing
Yeah.
that, even though you're trying to get people to frame and view you a certain way, but that's not the way it works
But
anymore.
again, when you're trying to implement pain,
That's what I'm
you
saying.
have to ask yourself: are your people collectively or on at least a majority level,
Exactly right.
are they
Exactly right.
willing to pause
There you
what
go.
they're living, their actual robotic
Yep.
life they're living, already piped into the system?
Because
You want them
yeah,
to pause. You want them
right,
to pause that to
right.
actually start thinking. Because remember, you don't want anybody thinking. You want everybody. You get born,
You
go
want
to
motion.
daycare.
You want
You go to
motion.
daycare. You go to
Exactly.
school. Boom, we got
Yes.
you. Boom,
If
you want
that
it on
gets
the route.
hold on,
Boom,
any of that
we
gets
run it
interrupted,
all day.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We can only catch the
Yeah,
bus 1 hour a day because
yeah.
there's not enough bus
That's
workers.
it. That's
We
right.
can only leave the library open to 5 instead of 9. Some places you can't use the internet. In some places you can't go into
Right.
Starbucks and use Wi-Fi for free and sit up in there. Like, yo, what?
Right.
What are you? What we
So
doing?
trying
Man?
to trying to get the because remember something, because when you're running a system, I would argue, I guess, you really don't want to disrupt things too much. It wants to be a very slow process, right? So Americans were being told, as you know, now you have experts who have been against it from day one. You need to have a manufacturing base if you want to maintain any kind of power. You do not want to release that. You know, it makes sense because you think you're going to some, you know, Mars level thinking, right? That you don't need all this, but you're lying, right? So dealing with that, it has to be challenging, right? Because you're telling people, don't worry about it. We're going to have these jobs for you, but we're going to have these slaves over here do everything else for us. Just relax, just enjoy yourself. And as those things start to converge and prices and life and different things start to affect where more and more people are going into basically the poor class, then you start having these conversations, obviously. I just think it's funny because could America turn itself inward? It has never done that before. Does it know how to do that? So it's funny that someone like a Steve Bannon or other people would say, we got to get back to doing our own thing. And, you know, we want to pretty much kill immigration and just use what we already have. You have experts saying, well, everybody in America who want a job got a job. So how are you going to make all the other people who don't have a job go work in the fields or in coal or in ditch digging or in roofing or, I mean, you know, whatever, pick on. You know, machines do a lot of stuff, thank goodness. But, you know, go out there in these environments. Who's doing that? Who's trained to do that? How do you set up a kid in America to do low wage work, DC? That's backbreaking, not McDonald's, right? Or working at the mall. But how do you divert, say, 10 million Americans right now today? Think about this. No matter where they are in status in life, and you divert them. Because basically what that means is what, DC? Well, there's no high. Guess what that means? There's no high school. What's the point, right? So let's get that out. You're not dreaming. You're not dreaming.
Yeah.
You're not believing in it. Look, we need this group of people that are Americans.
Yeah, we need you.
To pretty much when you turn about 12 or 13, or maybe a little bit younger, but 12 or 13.
You don't want to go to college? That's fine.
Ready? No. What I'm saying, you can't. Remember something. You can't talk about that. Remember, people who live when you enslave people, there is no optimism to get anywhere per se. We've already done that. That cycle has already occurred, right? So it's kind of funny that you're telling me you're gonna take Americans, say in 2025 today, all the Americans, and say, hey, I need a portion of y'all to pretend and go backwards and go back and work in the fields. Like, bruh, it's insane. Only through force, of course, obviously, it'll collapse, but you've already moved past that. So you got Americans saying, yeah, I hate the immigrants and I don't have a job and I'm struggling and y'all got me. You took my energy that I had for you and you moved it to the immigrant. So we're going after the immigrants, but at the same time, no one in America is set up to do that because you have to come in a certain way to be ready to give up pretty much everything for pennies on the dollar. Then to hope and wish that your kids or grandkids will go and do something else, but you have to be committed to backbreaking labor for 25, 30 years, bro. I mean, it's just
absolutely committed.
I don't even. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
And you said,
I don't even know. How do you turn that off?
And you said the most important thing earlier: sacrifice.
Yeah,
it's just it is what it is. You're gonna have to sacrifice.
Think about this, DC. You come from a very you come from a place in the world that has no infrastructure, right? And it's object poverty, right? You get on a boat or you walk. However it happens, the government helps you. However all the other stuff happens, we'll just keep it simple. Yeah. And then you come to America, you're say 15 or 25,
literally,
right?
Coming here and living on the streets is a dream to these people.
Coming here and picking strawberries is a dream.
It's a dream, bro.
It's a dream.
And I don't think we have been able to put that in our minds. Like, yeah, this is freedom to some people. Like, this is opportunity for some people. What we deem to be basically oppressive work or doing low wage work, they don't look at it like that. This is an opportunity for them to do better for their children and to do better for their families.
This is the opportunity of a lifetime.
That's absolutely from where they come from, like drug cartels running things and all this kind of stuff, and people being shot down just for being raped. Kids getting sex trafficked at 5 or 6 years old. They don't have no choices, nothing, no choices. The cartels is the government.
They'd rather be exploited here.
They rather
think about that. That's perspective, right?
If this is that's what I'm saying. Exactly right. If
now, guess what, DC? Me and you cannot.
This is the best of the worst. Hold on. This is the best of the worst.
Right.
Just put it that way. So this is the best of the worst. So when they hear, but I'm saying when they hear us complaining, that's why it's so inward. So when they hear us complaining about the system, it's crazy to them.
It literally sounds insane to them. I know you're around a lot of immigrants. I'm around a lot of immigrants.
Right.
It's insane. And I'd be laughing when they talk because I'm like, I understand where you're coming from, bro. They tell you about their country and stuff. I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense to me. You sit up here next to me now, so clearly,
Right, exactly.
I get it. I got you.
Even with them having access to just the places that we're talking about, like these buildings,
basic.
Like they do.
They don't have mail services, bro.
Just to walk up and to get a free cup of coffee, hey, you want some lunch? We'll get you some lunch. Like any acts of kindness is going to look like it's going to put these people, white people, our enemies, by the way, that we consider enemies, by the way, it's going to put them. And you can even go from Bush and all these people that you thinking are so hard on. That's what I'm saying. They soft on immigrants. They love these people. They work for them. Like they're in their houses. Like they keep
raising their kids.
I'm like,
and like you said,
it's not the same.
Like you said, and there's different versions. You have people who are working pavement, roofing, strawberry picking, raising people's kids. Lawn service, and on and on and on. Right, all the basically what you call a menial job. Even, and I wouldn't say Uber is necessarily a menial job, but Uber, Lyft, anything. Working in custodial services and whatever it is, just cleaning buildings, just trying to survive to the point where they can put their kids in a better space in America. They get out of that. So America is designed fundamentally, right, at the core of it, is to move out of that. So because we have it structured that way, you don't have what? You don't have a permanent underclass of labor. That means you got to refresh the labor because everybody's going to move up or move out. One of the two, right? Meaning I'm not doing that shit no more, so I'm just going to do whatever. Or I'm going to go up, become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, scientist, director, president, manager, whatever the fuck, right? Governors, mayors, whatever it is. So it's either up or out. But you're definitely, generationally, would not be picking strawberries or working in farming or working in construction, unless you own a construction company at that point, right? You're not going to it's not going to be a generational thing, one after another, as was for slavery, right? You're not going to continue that generational. The system is set up now to move outward or upward. So to just say things like you're going to do X, like I would love for you to try it, really, truly, truly try, but you have to collapse the economy to do it.
We are global.
From the experts out there,
we are literally. We are global. We are global. We're not so much nationalistic anymore. That got kind of collapsed in the it really since the advent of the World War II, when we started outsourcing and helping other people that we destroyed to rebuild. Yeah. It became a thing. But then it really became a thing.
Rebuilt Europe.
Yeah, it really became a thing at the advent of the 70s and the 80s when the New Deal kind of ran its course here in the States, and that integration was going to be a real thing. The culture, like you said, the culture of Americana kind of turned into this more blended type of deal. You know, like we turned blended.
And there's people, as always, in every culture, that's trying to hold on to the past, and that's fine. That's what I'll be saying. Like, you can spew it all you want to. It is over. That's all I'm trying to. So I'm careful having to engage those people, because what they're saying could be inflammatory, it could be disrespectful, it could be genocidal or homicidal almost on some level, right? And I get, and it can activate individuals to do crazy things, and of course the government as well can do crazy things to get through whatever they're trying to get through at a particular time and situation. But ultimately, me and you both know that the world is moving in one direction until that direction is destroyed and reshaped by a massive war. If that does not happen, or economies don't collapse on itself, if those things don't happen, and at least in our lifetime, like you said, we understand that this is what the system is, so you can try it. And like I said, he didn't do it in an intelligent way, from what experts say, but he just sort of bull in the China shop did it, and then, like you said, now has to pull back on everything. So now, by the way, he just said, was it today, about computers too? I think computers and cell phones are off the list too. It's like, well, of course, because they were showing the numbers. Like, well, so it's one finance guy was making it fun. He said one thing we could do in America, probably if we take it back from China, from doing all the iPhones, is the boxing part. So just ship them to America. We'll set up an iPhone company in Texas somewhere, and you can put them in the packages. We'll let y'all see that.
And you can have pictures. You can have pictures of Americans putting their thumbs up, showing that they brought some jobs back to America. Exactly what you can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my point is this, though: when you're managing and running a civilization,
Jeff Bezos.
Guess what, DC? That's what you have to do. It'll satisfy the commoner. It'll make him feel good and calm down and not burn down the Capitol building. He'll calm the fuck down. And guess what? We'll keep making these trillions every year. I'm just saying, like, people get caught up in these conversations. I'm thinking to myself, but it doesn't matter. It's an event. It's a situation you got to deal with. Oh shit, the common folks are mad because they don't have good education and they don't have health care, and they keep being told they should have all these things, and they feel like they should have things, so they're mad about what they don't even give a fuck about and won't ever work hard enough to even do it, by the way. And so we need to channel their energies. And so guess what? Everybody gets engaged into it. It's thinking to myself, like, bro, it's a process. When the common folks of a country gets mad, be it they're mad in UK right now, they're mad in Germany, they're mad in other countries, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's mad at somebody because of something, right? And so how do you manage to maintain things? That's what everybody's really doing, in my opinion, like you always say. Like, you're trying to manage the situation. Look, we have to keep this going. The most important thing. But some folks are mad. How do I deal with them being mad? So
people,
so for example, I'm saying what I mean by that, right?
People don't know what the stock market is. The reason why the stock market went crazy is because it was unstable. It was unpredictable. People didn't know buying, selling. What are we doing here? But once things stabilizes, that's why the things goes back up, because it normalizes again. It's management. You manage the economy. You manage people. That's I don't know.
The world economy.
Yeah, the world. That's what I'm saying.
But if
we are the world.
Remember, if you are
the world's economy when it comes down to it.
If you are a company, or even a country for that matter, you're planning out 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You're planning out. So you need a stable environment to make those plans. If you're unsure as a business of how to make the plans for the next 24 months at least, even that 2 years, 3 years, you can't make those plans. If I'm going to design a new car, I can't plan to design a new car to sell if one day we have tax credits on EVs and the next day we don't. What do we do? Which cars should we be making if we're Porsche or for Cadillac? Like, what do we do? Like, you see what I'm saying? So sometimes people get drug into the weeds of some things, like, well, just kind of analyze it though. Like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And it's like, and like I said, you can try things and the market responds. And the world ain't coming to an end, bro. You see what I'm saying? That's what I mean. Like, it's like, the world, you know how to get online, the world comes to an end, they on TV, the world's coming. I'm like, bro, you make a decision, and now you can spin it up however you want to spin it up. Because once somebody makes a mistake, then it's my job, not me and you, of course, is to now take advantage of his mistake. And then you spin it up. Everybody around the world, it's just, it's fascinating, to say the least, by the way. But when you're making the kind of money that the world is making with us, I think it's just a moment in time more than the end of the world, in my opinion. But they do a good job. People are probably selling more books, right, and having more interviews right now than they've had in a little bit since the market crash. Everybody's getting the phone calls, right? I've seen people I haven't seen in years pop up, financial people and stuff like that, because it's a hot moment in time, and they want to put their 2 cents about globalization, the world, and labor, and you know what I'm saying, right? And currencies, and who's doing what where, and you know the world is changing, and it's just like it's funny, by the way. Some of it is true, though. Of course, some of the information has some truth to it, but a lot of it is just. I think people just making. It's a good business opportunity right now. You know, once the market stabilizes, things move a certain way, then a lot of this stuff kind of gets quiet, and it gets back, you know, to the business of things, because the market is going to make you respond. And Trump responded, didn't he? He responded. You can call him stupid, sure. You can call him nice. You can call him impulsive, sure. But he's in charge, at least that branch of government, and you know he's doing what he's doing.
Well, he
would deal with the system accordingly like anybody else would. It ain't that heavy.
To be honest with you,
they try to make it heavy though.
This just showed me that this first administration was very laden with people that already had an idea how to run things, and they made him do things that he didn't want to do. This is something that he believes in. That's it.
Yeah. And guess what? When you believe in something,
right? This is going to be his truth. This is going to be his true. The other one was, you can look at the other one as a shell administration. Yep. You know, he was the bluster and all that. But this is going to be his true administration. He's even spending more time here than he did last time. The last time his ass was golfing in Florida half of the time. He's here at least 3 days out of the week, which I don't even know. The last term, especially like the last year, I don't think that man spent maybe how many days? Maybe 30 days that year in DC.
About a third.
I don't even think he spent the night here. I think as soon as he got done doing his press release, his cabinet meetings, all that stuff, his ass flew back home.
He said it. He's overwhelmed.
He flew his ass back to Mar-a-Lago, whatever. He flew home and got in his own bed. And because he got a private jet, so he comes back and do the same thing, back and forth. You know, before COVID hit and all that kind of shit.
And they told him, don't worry about it, we got
it. We got it. Yeah, these are people that he couldn't trust. Now he has more people that he put into place, that he put into power. So yeah, this is more of his administration. So I agree with that part.
Yeah, but like you said, and then you learn what you can and can't do, and you can be in charge, and you're tracked because now you're in charge. So
and I would
guess what,
continue.
DC? So I'm watching him. It's still early. It's only been a few months, but I'm watching things not happen the way supporters wanted to happen. They're rolling with it, but
this
is what you wanted in the
exactly
system now. Is that the person that you wanted is there? He's doing what you asked.
Yep.
And we will let it all play out the way it plays out.
And you know what's so crazy?
No matter how you want to spin it.
You know what it proves? You know what it proves? You guys are not built like him. Y'all wanted him, but y'all not built like he is. Even the people that's right under him, they're not built like that. They don't want none of the heat.
Well,
you don't want to sit there. No, it is because those people that are in charge, when they get put into the fire and they got to answer questions, you got to be able to stand up against the scrutiny, whether it's in front of people, and you got to have an answer ready for it, whether it's a lie or whether it's the truth or whether it's a half truth or whatever the case. If you sound confident and you sell it to the American people, most people are going to believe it, even if it's a line of bullshit, because most people just, guess what? They don't know. They don't know. So when we're so used to Donald Trump just saying stuff and standing on it, and it could be a complete fabrication, but the fact that he lives in that space, it's like it's comfortable for him. Like he's so comfortable now, just dealing with, he just talks freely. No script. No, you just come out there. Hey, well, I don't know. It's just, and then he talks about if it's something that he don't know about, guess what he's gonna do? He gonna move the conversation to something that he do know about prior to what your conversation is. He's not gonna answer your question. He's gonna answer.
Oh, he have one of his people come and answer.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't know everything, obviously.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's like you get to a certain point and you see, okay, that's the reason why he is who he is. But when it comes down to it, when you have to operate, because it's more of a bully pulpit, right? When you have to operate in that kind of bully pulpit
it's always
way,
a bully pulpit. The president is a bully pulpit,
because
no
you
matter
have
who's in charge.
Right. But you know, it depends on how you will that power too, though.
Well,
Now
you're just talking about style.
the style. This is the style. Exactly.
Style points.
So he with that kind of directive, he can kind of just move around and just say whatever. But the other people, they're so nervous. Like I said, like when we talked about the signal gate and all that kind of stuff, you stand on business. You just stand on business. Not a big deal. We're gonna move on. It was a security breach. We're gonna make sure that these things don't happen again. Blah blah blah, and we're gonna keep it moving. We're not gonna bring up Biden. We're not gonna bring up other things. We're not gonna try to divert. Like no.
But one thing has been obvious with presidents for many generations is they will be checked. No one's gonna let no president just mess everything up. It doesn't work like that in this system. And so he's learning, right?
I think he learned.
And I'm gonna tell you this. And if the market doesn't, well, he's already you're already being told things. So if the market doesn't stabilize, hedge funds will literally go out of business. So like there's all type of people businesses will start to close. Like that's how fast it's going to happen.
It's fast.
You can't. So Trump will say something like, yeah, I got the phone call this morning, last night, and they were saying the bond market, this is going up, and it's about to cause X, Y, and Z, and it's like, so you can hold, but unfortunately, like you just said, everybody ain't built for it, and them investors are calling saying, I'm going to lose everything.
Yep.
You motherfuckers better fix this shit right now.
Absolutely. Because they're gonna need no Brown in the situation. If I'm hurt, you gonna hurt. I'm not going down. I'm taking it. Hey, I'm leaving here with something.
It would easily get. And he knows everybody knows it, because remember something. He only has about 30. Half the voters, but a third of the country of adults. He obviously supports him. So because of that, things could change very quickly, and people will organize. And all of a sudden, there is no Democrat or Republican. There's something else, and they're going to get you out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like it could just that quick, boom. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you go from 213 to 217, whatever it is, 215, whatever it is. It'll go from that to 30.
Yeah.
To 300, and you know what I'm saying? 370, 380, whatever it is, right? Like it's overnight. So everyone knows what So my point is that they want to pretend and project that he's some kind of thing, and I'm like, it's not real.
Yeah,
it's not real. But you're selling and selling. It's not there.
Checks and balances. Yeah, it's a checks and balances system, man. Based off.
You're bound by too many things. It's just retarded, bro. When you think about it, as an individual person in charge of anything, you're bound by so many things. And so, unless you are truly a dictator of a nation and you run the whole nation and you have everything,
that's why it's almost it's almost impossible to have a dictator. Just the way our government is set up, it's almost to the point.
It literally is impossible. You would have to literally
but I'm saying that's what I mean. Like the military has to be directly involved.
Yeah, it'd be something totally
different. It has to wipe away Congress, and it has to do away with protocols of all
that. All that has to go. It would be no more constitution. None is gone.
Yeah.
So the thing is that you're bound by all those rules. So when they start talking all crazy on TV, I was like, people are really repeating this stuff, and they really believe it. I'm like, it's retarded. And guess what? He's been there for 3 months. He did something. He did multiple things that have been all checked. Can't do it. Even his own judges. We can't do it. Sorry.
9-0. 9-0. That's tough, man. On the immigration policy, that's tough, man. 9-0. You got to send him back, man. You don't have no reason to keep this, man. We checked everything, and what's so crazy about it? We checked everything, looking for a loophole for it.
You know what the sad part is, though. You know what the sad part is. I hate the sad part is that the Democrats and Republicans, they know, and the media class, they know too. And instead of them being honest about it, they literally are running a giant scheme to try to paint an individual and his people a certain way. They did to George Bush too. They're trying to paint it a certain way. And I'm just like, it's not reality. But you're really making people believe it to where it becomes one. You're trying to make them believe something. Just watch it. Because see, Trump is still talking quote unquote authoritarian, right? He's still talking fascist. He's still talking the way they want to. But what is he doing? He's trying to do things by writing a 10,000. He's trying to write more executive order than anybody in history at this point.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, no doubt.
Obvious. That's kind of obvious at this point.
That's why I call it the little pen. It's a little pen though. Using a little pen, not a big pen.
He would keep writing them. He would get some stuff done. He would get
but Paradox. But don't you think
he'd get some things.
Paradox. Don't you think something is wrong? But don't you think something is wrong when somebody don't try to get any legislation passed? I understand trying to fast track it now, but he doesn't want to get any bills. He's not even working to get bills passed.
It's coming.
Okay.
The big one will be here in another week.
Okay. Well, we need to go over it then. We need to go over the bill. I think we need to really kind of fine tune it and let people know how things get done. Everything is checked too, by the way. You have to put it in. You have to put it into the White House scheme. You see the yays and the nays. You see who voted for what. You see what's in there. You see how much money, how much pork is in the bill, how much money is there, where it's going, all that kind of stuff.
Watching Democrats vote for his some of his nominees is hilarious.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Facts. That's why I say. That's why I say That's why I said there's way more Democrats that are way more conservative in certain places than it is Republicans that are so-called liberal in other places. They don't vote. They don't vote. They don't because they don't vote across the aisle. Republicans don't vote across the aisle. Republicans don't vote across the aisle. Right or wrong, bro. Like the history of it, they normally don't do that.
I would just say
they normally don't do that though, unless it's a bipartisan. The only way they do that is if a Republican senator gets a Democratic proposal of a bill, and they get to review it, and somebody like a Mitch McConnell or Ingram, they propose the bill to the other side of the house, and that's how they get bipartisan bills passed. Most of the time, bro, because that's how Biden got a lot of stuff passed, because he was friends with who? Who was he friends with on the other side? What was the other dude's name? Now, but I'm saying all the power players that were Republicans, he was cool with, including Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell, everybody, of course.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. So he would go over, okay, what do we need to do to negotiate this bill to get passed? Yeah. What do you guys want?
And like you said, we don't need everybody to commit, so you can do 90 of y'all can not vote.
That's the reason. That's the reason why the immigration. What I'm saying, that's the reason why the immigration bill was such a false dichotomy, because people looked at it as something being strictly by Biden. No, that was something that was agreed upon by the Republican Senate. The Republican senators, if they don't want the bill to be passed, guess what? It's not going to go. It's not going, bruh. It's not going. So I'm exactly. Just, dude. I'm just what I'm trying to say. Paradox is that these people, there are way more Democrats that were surprised to be like, well, why did you do that? Like you at the end of it, you'd be like, well, you didn't. We all sat in the same car because we all talked to like, and they silent. That's what I'm saying. They stay silent. They don't say nothing, and they just go in there. They just do what they do.
Yeah, of course. A lot of Democrats and Republicans work together all the time in small groups, constantly.
You know what I mean? Like the Cinnamons of the world.
Yeah, but when you come out on TV, as you know, you have to present a certain way. You have to sell it a certain way. You have to say, I don't agree with any of it. You know, you have literally senators who vote for something and then come out and say they didn't vote for it. I don't support none of that stuff. They're like, well, you voted for it, sir. Well, yeah, right. That's normal though. That's normal politics. You know, because you have to let your people who support you, believe a certain thing or buy into you a certain type of way, to get things done, right? As you say.
Yes, absolutely. So when you look at a Democrat, so a Democratic senator from, which is Kelly now, but senator before him, Kelly and Manchin out of West Virginia. When you get Democratic senators from those particular states, it's not the same as having a Democratic senator from Maryland, California, any of these places where you have to be, dealing with some of the so-called liberal policies on a regular basis, to where you're gonna be found out. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna see you, be like, oh yeah, nah. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like how Larry Hogan kind of hid his Democratic leanings, his liberal leanings in the Republican.
They sniffed that right out too.
They got him though. They got him now though. Yeah, they got his. They like, nah, bro. You talking about, and people talk about, and if I'm not mistaken, people forget the stuff that happened with my man from B-More. Why am I forgetting his name, man? I should know this.
The mayor?
No, the one that died. With the transport.
Oh yeah.
That was under Larry. That was under Hogan, the Republican governor.
Hogan.
That was a Republican governor that ran our state. Like it ain't. I understand what y'all saying, but dude, he's in the area. Like it's not. you don't get it. Like it's different. Like anyway. I digress, bro. I digress. All the complaints that they had. I mean, even before then, there was my man that O'Malley, before him. So, it is what it is, bro. It's just politics, and the way the people frame it, it's way different than what the reality is. And you think that everybody know, and I'm saying I don't think that most people know. Not really, not how it really works.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. I think like I don't know if you believe it. I mean, there's some. It's complicated. It's like you said, you have people who are just workers who their job is to just do what they do. I mean, we're not saying we're anything special here. I'm just saying, like, it's not. I don't know if it should be that way or not. But like you said, people don't have the energy for it, bro. It's right. Just a small group of people who really are engaged. Obviously, they claim they want everybody more engaged, but this is not our society, to be honest with you. People just don't want to talk about politics because it is very it can be very divisive. It makes sense. Like they say, don't talk about politics.
But what I'm saying is,
table and stuff.
Did you notice a difference between O'Malley and Larry Hogan? It's like, I mean, seriously, like there was no difference. And Larry Hogan won the governor's. I'm saying, but Larry Hogan won the governor's office by a landslide. Plenty of black people voted for him. Yeah, we didn't even choose Ron Brown. Like it's like.
Crazy, it's crazy. He messed up anyway though, but that's a different.
He did. Yeah, that's
local politics.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do anti-black.
But it's crazy though.
Because his father was a civil. His dad did a whole lot for. I can't.
Yeah, but he made a mistake, and it's been so long I can't remember.
Well, it's legacy. It's legacy, kid. It's the money under the table. We don't. The thing that got a lot of black politicians, especially around that time period in the early 2000s, there was so much money happening.
Yeah.
So much money flowing in PG County, Anne Arundel County, just, Charles County.
Yeah,
there was so much. Oh, my God, man. Government contracts were all out of the wazoo. During Obama's administration? Bruh. Dude, I just said... put it like this, bro. Like you just had to be here. We just put it like that. You just had to be here, bro. For what? Paradox. We talking about 2010 to 2000. Well, really before then, we talking 2000, 2006 to 2000 2015, 2016. Things kind of got a little, they started to shut it down. Now people get caught in the house. People getting caught in the house. All kinds of money. State cash, homie. Yeah, like it was crazy because remember everybody that was a mayor of Baltimore was I mean, it was too much money flowing. It was money everywhere, bro. Like yeah, I see when people look from the outside in. I mean, yeah, it is true. And a lot of them, they shared our classification. I mean, yeah, they was on the take, but I mean, all that money that was flowing and the money, just people didn't see that much money.
A lot of privilege.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't see a lot of that money, man. So they taking trips, they going on European trips on the dime. I mean, extra funding. We need extra funding. People come like, hold on, that every month you coming through talking about you need extra funding, right? Just writing up mods like we just imaginary. It's just a simple stroke of the pen. Money. That's what I like, yo. This can't be real. Like, yo, for real? Like, yo, just all of a sudden. Remember picks with 10 cents, all of a sudden it's free. Every government, like you've been that whole thing, like everything, all of a sudden everything free. Everything free, like pictures, videos, like it's just like what? Oh, we got the game totally jacked. Now, it's all free. I remember the whole big deal. Remember they were like, yo, no, they just, They got everything.
I remember. I remember they was going to pass. I remember when they was. I don't know if they passed a law. They may have passed that law where they were going to allow. I don't know if it's the county level or the state level. They were going to allow illegal immigrants to have driver's licenses. Remember that?
Say what now? Oh,
I don't know if it was at the state or the county level.
Yeah.
No one. It's just interesting that no one cared about that.
Nobody.
I just think about local stuff where you just like.
That's true.
You can turn people up all. Like I said. In Ohio, you let 40,000 Haitians come there. It's been there since 2000, I think 12, 14, whatever it was.
Yeah, in the community.
And then working, labor, all that good stuff. Y'all wasn't doing work. You wasn't doing no work. You wasn't working in these places.
Yeah, wasn't doing it.
So you took, like I told you, they took a moment. You took a moment in time because you needed this to generate this, and so you took a moment in time to do that to get those votes. So it's just very, very funny. When you talk to the people in those local areas and they say, yeah, you know how people do that? Yeah, man, I don't know how all these Korean stores got here and I got to go to these Korean people to get stuff, right? Yeah, man, I work in the factory now and it's like 30 Haitians there. Where do these people come from? So when you ask it, like, when you know what I'm saying, how when you just ask a question like that, it's a setup in a sense because regular people, really, you don't have control over anything in a lot of ways. You know, you can vote, but if you're not locked into it, if you don't have organization stuff like that, you can't vote as an individual, whatever way you want to vote. But as people are coming into the country, it's like you said, it's always funny when you ask people. Like I said, I've been to some of the schools, and the school thing been going on in this area for a minute, by the way.
Yeah.
But even back in like 2005, 2006. I was going to school in the county, and they had kids and parents in there. I mean, they just got here, don't know the language, and I mean, and it is what it is. Like it's just
it was the same. Hold on, it was the same complaint that we had about gentrification.
Ain't nobody out there protesting stuff. That's funny.
No, it was. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
that's all. Like I said, a lot of this, like you said, when you're living through it, a lot of that. So you know how what they'll do is okay. Look, we need to go out, find a farmer who got land in Texas, a big piece of land, and let him complain about the illegals come across. You see what I'm saying? Like you can set up things to create something because like you said, you have an end goal of using it as politics. But when like you said, everybody in America is pretty much, I think, for the most part, is living with it. And been living with it, nobody's protesting, right? So it's funny how you can just make that almost out of thin air on some level. Like because people have been complaining our whole lives, right? It's 10 million. I've been hearing the number 10 million illegals in this country forever, for 30 years, and it's like, okay. I mean, I guess you can use that to try to get people to vote or whatever, but like you just said, obviously, in the real world, in a sense, outside of politics. You can't turn that machine off, though. You can just complain about it, right? You can just find way, like you said, if every immigrant was documented, had all the right paperwork, it would still be something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not getting away. That's what. So you pick it and choosing things like, oh, well, that some of them vote, some of them have driver's license. You want to amnesty them. You want to give them something because you want to give them something because they're criminals, and then you want to give them X. But the problem, like you said, the problem is just like with anything else. Yeah, but they doing all the work though. So they all can't be criminals, right? So which one is it? So it's like we know on the surface politically, you're trying to satisfy failed people mostly. Because you're really, like you said, because of how it's structured, in really probably any country in the world, when you have a lot of poverty, like you said, you have to shift that anger away from you. And so it's very obvious that if I'm an American and I've been here for generations and I don't have everything that I want, or I have debt, or I made mistakes, or my parents made mistakes, and we're not where we should be, and then you pull up to the stoplight and there's an Asian looking person that you've never seen before because you're not from, say, the West Coast, right? Or from up north, something, right? And you see some Asian pull up, you know what I'm saying, in a brand new Mercedes. Maybe it does something to people, right? You start seeing these foreigners who are, Vivek Ramaswamy, like, who is this dude? Or what's the dude that came down out of Louisiana, the backcountry for governor back in the day? Like, you're seeing these people they're not a white person, they're not a black person, they're not even a Hispanic person, right? In that sense. And now they're a governor, they're a mayor. Like, how did this happen? Who is he? Where they come from? Who's running our universities again? Who y'all put? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like they pick and choose when to wake people up. But it's way after the fact though. It's like way. They were talking about it even like in Europe and UK and stuff about all the Muslims there. I said, so you go and let 20 million Muslims in your country, and now you worried about your country changing, but you had no problem bringing them in there to exploit them for labor, and now you're trapped. You don't know what to do, because if you don't do it, you become one of these countries that collapses, right? Or that falls behind, or you just can't compete, and you just become less and less. You have less and less value in your economy and your ability to operate around the world, right? And so you're like you said, you both know you're in a trap, because if you're in China, you figured out that you can exploit your own people.
You can exploit your, and it's part of the culture. They're okay with it.
Yeah, it's structured already to do it. It's there. The structure is there. Same in India. The structure is there, and really around the world, outside of obviously some of the Western countries and Japan and some other places, you have like you said, you have a people there that is ready to go into industrialization, right?
Right.
They're there, but they're just not being used. They're not being used yet because that society is either being oppressed or doesn't want to do it or whatever. Doesn't have the systems in place to do it. But you look at Japan. I do wonder. Japan has figured out how to do it without massive immigration, so there are ways to do it, right? And some other countries as well. It's just that you choose what you choose, and in America, it made a choice. And Japan, like you said, we're so far in now. Man, you really can't. Yeah. I mean, you can't turn it off. I mean, you can, but the sacrifices I think is too great. It has to collapse to do it. I think.
We gotta be careful with Japan, man. The reason why I say that, man, is because I just still think that they're playing chess when it comes down when they come down to America. I'm just gonna say it like that. Like, there's some things that just ain't gonna never be forgiven, and that's just I just think it's just in the bone.
And like you said, over time, things, and you know what? Over time, things change.
Yeah, but over time things change. But look, man, it ain't been that long. It's not that long.
I would love to see Asia unite. It'll be interesting. Or the Middle East to unite, or Africa to unite, or South America to unite. It'll be interesting.
The person you worried about is not the person that you think that you may need to worry about. Is all I'm saying.
But what's funny though? But what's funny? No, I agree with you on Japan. But what's so funny is that you just don't know. And when you look at like you say, you look at history, and I'm always surprised to see who ended up working together.
Yeah.
To fight something or to do something.
How dependent they are. Yeah. But this last month or so, the way they moved, it just points something a little bit out to me. Like keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. It just gives me that kind of deal. Like when they, how they're quick to just sure, America, whatever you say.
No. Like I think that the EU, the UK. Canada, America, etc. I think everyone knows what it is, and they're trying to manage it a certain way. And then you elect Trump in the biggest country, and then he kind of shows things. I may even want to argue. I'm not going to go there yet. Okay. But he almost even exposed some things that they're trying to keep quiet as they keep trying to get to make the money and maintain some level of power and order in the world, but. It's a delicate, and man, you've been talking about this for years. It's a delicate system.
Yeah, it is.
And you both know, and we saw a glimpse of it this week, last week. But it's delicate, and because there's so much money in the world, again, you're not living in the 1950s. You're not living in the 1850s. You're not living in the 1750s. So talking about the French Empire and the Spanish Empire and the UK and the British Empire and the Roman Empire, and what I'm saying? You're talking about things like, bro, you have to be right now. That's cool to know that information, but if you keep trying to live there, you're gonna get caught. Like you said, it happens, right? You make big, giant mistakes, and so I think the people who really know what's going on, they know that things are very delicate.
Very delicate.
We have a lot of negotiations in place, and I've heard enough geopolitical people discuss things in detail just about. When you're dealing with markets and stuff around the world, and even simple things like you hear somebody say something like, well, you want to tax Mexico or whatever, right? Or you want to tax Canada, but you do understand that there's companies that move stuff back across back and forth across the border 30 times to get it built. Like literally piece by piece going back and forth. You know, they do this part and it shifts back over. They finish up. They do this section and it goes back, right, back and forth, back and forth. So all of that stuff is integrated with Canada, Mexico, and China, and Europe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And you can try to do things like, so for Elon to say something like, well, you know what, let's zero out the tariffs and let just Canada, America, and the EU and the UK, just us, let us just have free open trade, right? And we'll do X, Y, and Z. And it's kind of like, yeah, you as an individual.
That's what I'm saying. That's when you're leveraging the market. You're leveraging the market.
Right.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, but him as an individual having an opinion, it's just an opinion. But I could take that because I could say, well, he's a billionaire, he's the richest man in the world. So when he says something, no, it's just an opinion. He may want that to happen. A lot of people want a lot of things to happen, but just let it play out. And so, for example, they figured when they was it the pipeline that they blew up in Ukraine or somewhere, and then or going to Germany, and then now their power situation is suspect with their energy situation. I'm sorry, the energy situation may be suspect because of the pipeline. And so then Trump or Biden to say, well, just buy natural gas from us, and we'll just ship it to you, obviously, right?
Yep.
Now, Germany or the EU as a whole has to say, well, okay, you want to demonize Russia.
We ready to go to Russia. We ready to go to Russia.
We may want to go to war with Russia even, right? But we still need this gas stuff. We're going to get it from Russia. You see what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
But now I can tell you a different story and say, well, man, yeah, they're going to come back to us, and then we're going to be working with them. They're going to get gas.
They got a choice. That's the mark. Yeah.
But let when it happens, then we can have that conversation. But until then,
when did we become shamers? Like that's the reason why we've been so. That's why you have your hand in every market so you can leverage it. Now you want to isolate and be able to leverage it that way, but you only can do that when you have I'm saying, but you can only do that when you have a strong manufacturing force back home.
That's the argument.
You can leverage that, or you open the borders to where you'll get your person saying, well, you know, hey, like, you know, the people that's
I would say that if you're willing to crash the economy by 50%, right? If you're willing for price to go quadruple, if not multiples of 20 or 30 times in price, if we're as Americans, think about that, right? So you saying you want something, right? We all complain about how we need more jobs, we need factories, and we need to be we need to control our own pharmacy, make our own drugs, make our own this, do this, and mine our own stuff, etc. You already know your limitation with mining and how much you have and don't have, and where you're going to have to go regardless. But let's just pretend that we have everything here. You have to be willing to do that, and the argument is some people anyway, we believe you're going to blink because at the end of the day, the system is already set up to where you have massive poverty, right? You have a serious disconnect between the rich and the poor. You already have in the millions of people, so you're trying to basically, like you've been talking about before, you're trying to tell a story to people to say, hey, we're going to bring back X because we're going to bring back the 1950s. We're going to bring back this.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, the world don't work.
Right. The world doesn't work. It just doesn't. I mean,
it don't work that way. Yeah.
Go to Shanghai. Go to Hong Kong. I mean, go to Tokyo. Like, it's what we talk. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like you say, it happens all the time. You can go back to Rome, Egypt, Mesopotamia. You can go to the dynasties in China. Like you can go all over the world historically and even to the present day, and you can see where some places set up something, they get it rolling, they export it out. Other places get better at what you were doing, and things keep moving. And then you start to structure your systems around those things, and they're delicate.
Yeah.
And the leverage you had in a certain way at one point in time. A huge manufacturing base, cheap labor in America, very cheap labor. You had other ways to leverage things. Then now you have it in a different way. So when you bring a person in who is a bunch of people who are trying to go back to something, which it does sound great, by the way. I would love for us to make our own stuff, and it sounds. It
sounds.
And I love that idea.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic.
But guess what though? China has a limit to where it has to now export labor that's cheaper than in China. Because that is just how it is, right? When you get into cost and pricing and scarcity, and what your people are willing to do up into a point, and then you got to adjust to that. Obviously, population issues, like, so you can start all the issues that are internal in a place, maintaining a place and what that looks like. And as you try to implement a Western economic system into your environment, you will deal with people wanting more because you have your own people teaching them to consume, and then you're exporting on top of that, right? And then you're importing things that you have to have. You have certain things that they don't have, they have to have. And so when all those things are rolling, right, everybody's bound by the same rules. So you can complain about India now, but not 50 years from now, right? It's going to be somewhere else because India, as it develops and comes up, that massive amount of people who are uneducated and who are poverty will start to get more education if they decide to do it that way. And they are doing it that way, right? Get more education, you start to make your way up. And now certain things that were being done in your country no longer, people won't do it anymore on that scale. You have to move it to Vietnam now, right? So it's just a funny thing because the way people can spin it, because people are emotional about everything, right? We're very emotional, so you can spin things up because people want to believe the thing is coming to an end, or things are destroyed, or things are over with. It's the end of everything. People have this, and I don't know if it's a part of religion because the Abrahamic stuff is all condemnation into the world. I don't know if it's that mindset or what. I don't know what it is.
People want to hold on to traditions because that's the way to keep it safe. But instead of just looking at it as being fluid.
But you just said
things
it,
are fluid.
It's fine to hold on. It's fine to hold on to this if you're willing to have less. And the argument is to Trump is we don't believe that Americans are willing to have cheaper air fryers.
They don't believe it.
Or cheaper
they
coffee,
don't believe it.
Or cheaper whatever, right?
Yeah.
We don't believe it.
We don't believe you're going to hurt.
Forget all the fascism and the government shit and the rule of the world.
That's exactly what happened too.
Pressures of the
That's
economy.
a great way of explaining it too.
We'll deal with
That's
it.
a great way of explaining it. You need to repeat that one more time, bro, like so people can understand because
that's
literally what happened. No, but that's literally what happened. Like, literally, you're not willing to go through what it takes to even impose what you're trying to do.
I told you, I would love it. You know why? I would love to see us stop consuming. But 80% of our market is consumption. The reason why the world even rolls with us on certain levels is because we consume their products.
And we have the ability to now, and not only that, we got the ability to maintain our structure while doing it simultaneously. Yeah.
So we can make a decision and say, you know what, we can maintain military power, but we're going to start to pull back on economics and consumption and divert things. So, like you said, it does get tricky because even our military arm is business. We sell all our weapons.
Yep.
So it's all a part of the same machine at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And so it's funny that what are you going to turn off? What does that look like? You're talking about trillions and trillions.
Are you willing to go with electricity being out certain times? And I mean, just really when you start to think about certain things, because we don't have easier access to like some of the materials. You're not going to have. We already have places where they don't get. And even our places that don't get as much as other places do around the nation, they're still more advanced than these other countries. And when the stuff that they don't have, like they don't have access to some of the stuff that we have at all.
No.
So I mean, it's just
there's no
comparison.
There's no systems in place either, right? To even do it that way. Remember, in America, when you ask for it, you have it. For the most part, it's instant, almost for the most part.
Yeah.
Whatever you want is pretty much instant. And so I don't know how you spent trillions of marketing dollars, right? To propaganda to become consumers.
Yeah, we're consumer
based, not builders, not makers, not builders, not makers, we're not. So we don't even have the skill set. So say for example, Apple brought it over here. No, you're gonna have to import how many Chinese you're gonna import, DC? 10 million, right? 10 million. So Apple can build a massive plant here. We're going to bring in 10 million illegal
not born here.
Who used to work in the
because they're not born here. Yeah, not born here. Yeah.
We're gonna build them a whole city around this plant, a whole town around this plant.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to pay them nothing and figure it out, right? It's just impossible. You know what I'm saying? It's insane. You had to pay you had to pay a person to build an Apple phone in America America. I don't care where they come from. At least 50. 50 is the cheapest, probably the cheapest level as far as the amount of intensity they have to do to build. I mean, they have cities built around these places in China, bro. It's like, bro, what are y'all talking about? Ain't nobody doing that. That's insane. Even lumber, you have to get lumber from Canada. We don't even have enough trees. I mean, it's just dumb, bro. Just basic things. And so I'm willing to say, but me personally as an individual, I'm down. I'm down, bro. I'm down for it. Bring it all back. Shrink everything down. It'll force the government to get smaller.
That's what makes you.
It'll be less engaged in world wars.
Yeah, that's what makes you a true conservative. But you're willing. But you believe that you didn't believe in the bailouts of 2008 either. Though. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, so
I want the pain. I want the food lines.
Right.
I want
right. Because technically,
no money.
Technically, that told the truth about what kind of country we were. That exposed us.
Dude, Trump becoming president told us what kind of country we are. The poor people in America vote for a billionaire. I mean, come on. Come on.
That's supported by the richest man by the world. Not just the billionaire, but he's supported by the richest man in the world. Talking about he know what your problems is. Okay, all right.
So like you said, that's what makes it so. Like you said, but that's what makes it so comical. Like you said, what people are doing is very different than all the talk. The talk is great. Yeah, let's get everybody mad, everybody upset, yada yada yada.
So that's why I'm holding them to it because you're saying that. No, I'm saying that's why I'm holding you to it because the things that you're talking about doing, it gets done on the Democratic side, but then you bitch and moan about them doing it because that's what they're going to do. That's government. That's what
I find funny about the Democrats, by the way.
That's what I'm trying to say about the Democrats, though. But that's what I'm trying to say, though. Okay, go ahead. You got progressives, not Democrats. You got progressives who whine and complain about capitalism till they blow in the face. Trump is destroying capitalism, and you're trying to save it now? I'm confused. Right.
I'm confused. Well, I don't want it done that way, and we still want to do. So then you want to be a capitalist? Then make your mind up, rich boy. You know what I'm saying? Like these rich progressives out here talking. I'm like, well, you should be happy because this is what y'all whine about all the time, right? Because think about it like this: if you crash the market, all the billionaires not billionaires.
They fall down. They fall.
Right?
They fall exactly. All money gone. Yeah. So that means you got to sell your stock. You got to get up out of there. Yeah, get up out the pain.
Well, guess what? No.
You don't get no more derivatives. You don't get none more derivatives. None of the fat on the back. None of the kickbacks that you get from the subsidies and stuff like that. All that kind of stuff that goes away.
Well, the entertainment industry suffers. So those same progressives who make money off of people watching them. Well, I can't afford the internet, so I'm not watching you. You see what I'm saying? We're not watching. It's nothing for you to talk about. Like, I don't have any money anymore. I'm turning that off. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if things got more like that, it would probably. It would like you said, it would literally shake this country because most people, even if you don't have anything, the ability to can dream about it or can aspire to it even on a very small level, America has that energy, and to turn that off and to turn what we're gonna say 20 million people in America to back to factory farm worker people, to just turn them into that out of nothness.
Yeah,
nothing in place to make those people exist.
It's tough too. Yeah.
Guess what? We probably got. They said unemployment is 4% based off of if you want a job or not or whatever the bullshit metrics are. But it's probably more like 25% probably. Are you going to get that 25% to go work labor? Come on, we know that's not real. Same in London. Pick a place. Pick a country in Europe. It doesn't. I mean, you need labor, and labor is going to come where it's going to come from. Like you said, with labor, you need the most. The most important thing you need with labor, especially if it's not true chattel slavery, is compliance.
You got to have compliance.
You need people who are not asking for no union. They're not asking for no raises.
They wake up with a purpose.
Give them something. Right.
Wake
Give
up with a
money
purpose
for this.
Yeah.
Right.
Quick pro quo. That's what I just.
I don't want no bank account. I don't want nothing.
I don't care. Money. I don't care about all of that. This is This is so much better than what it was before when I was living. That all we want to do is be left alone. We got our own place. We got our own apartment. We got our own way of getting subsistence. We got a way of getting around. We get a car. We get a license. We good.
Right.
We good.
You have some law and order, even though it's corrupt. You have some law and order. You have some mechanism.
Yeah, you get things paid under the table. You get them even. You get them even sneaking some of the other folks, and then it becomes like a pyramid scheme. Obviously, it's like it devolves. Yeah,
And the
we all know that.
and the American dream in America, regardless of what you look like, really is coming in dirt poor from impoverished places,
Right.
and you sacrifice for your generation,
from shithole
kids to go to high
countries.
school,
Let's
and to go to
from what he
college,
called
right?
it.
And
Trump
yeah,
said
and you
shithole
roll with it,
countries. Yeah.
right? But everybody knows one thing, and that's why he had to keep saying legal, 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 even though a lot of MAGA people don't want any immigration at all.
They don't want that. Right.
Zero.
And because that means that the country still is not going to be theirs. That means that it's not going to be still trying to reclaim it and be making it all majority. That was just used. That was a political ploy. That's what I was saying. That's the energy behind it. But okay. So we understand.
I got you on that.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
All right. But
like you said, but when you look at obviously when you look at those numbers, you're like, well, so do we need? That's the hard question I want to hear debates about. Do we need 1 million immigrants a year, or 1.5 million, or 2.1 million to sustain what we already have? And is there any other way? Is there another option? And if it is another option, how painful is that option? Right. So that's where we're living at to this day still. And Trump has continually made a hard point of you need to be legal. His whole team, you need to be legal. I was waiting for one of them to break and say, no, we don't even want that either. But they won't. You see what I'm saying? They won't. But you could tell that it still has to be. So I would tell you this. We'll make this argument, right? Is that so because I'm saying that we're still going to send good messaging to you to at least make you feel good about it. So let's go grab this guy in Maryland, right, and that female, and we're going to send him to El Salvador and let the courts fight over it, right? But I'm going to at least make you feel, because like you said, it's really about feeling. We close the border down, so we'll say that nobody's coming across the border, which believe that or however you want to believe that. You can you say something.
Did you put the link in the chat by any chance?
No.
Do you want to invite some people on to see if they want to come to discuss this stuff, man? Because I'm kind of curious to see what's what.
Yeah, sure, man. I can. Yeah, we can do this for about an hour.
I know you don't have that tolerance for it, but yeah, just drop that link, man. Anybody that want to come on and have a discussion, man, as long as it's in good faith, man, we willing to have it. If you have any issues with what we're saying, or you think that we're so-called pedestrians, you don't know what we're talking about, blah, 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 blah. Love to hear it in real time. Love to hear it.
I'm not debating.
No, that's me. I love the smoke, man. You might as well just call me a chimney. I'm the chimney. I love smoke.
I'm just having
live for the smoke
with my buddies. That's it.
I live for the funk. I die for the funk. I live for the funk. I got about see you gun folk, baby. So yeah,
I got about 20 videos. I got about 20 videos on the economy stuff. Right, I was gonna just run through them for like 6 hours, but I came across a video from about Kamala talking about a little quick snippet. It's out of context a little bit, but that she told you. So that I came across I think Van Latham and some other cat from Sirius X, and I don't know them. And they were kind of going back and forth with one another about what she should or should have said. So it was very interesting. I wanted to play it for you.
Yeah, we can
play it. It's really off topic completely, but I thought it was just a funny kind of a funny video, because like you say, you're looking at people and trying to understand people's politics and then what you believe in. And I always wonder, what are you putting first? So regardless of what you look like, and you're talking a certain propaganda, but what is your full beliefs on some level? Because I never really know. Cause how some folks they're not really imperialist people, they're anti-war or they're anti-colonization or whatever. And so that's cool.
Yeah.
If you want to project around the world and you think there's world injustices that you want to engage in.
Right.
I just don't like them using us to assist with that engagement, of course. But
I know you got a real problem with that. I already know.
It's weird, bro.
It is weird.
Yeah, I don't care what's going on in the Middle East. necessarily. I mean, I care on some level, but on other levels, it's kind of like, look, man, places of work, there people. I always say people are sorting things out. You know, do your history. You know,
I
warfare
just want to
is warfare.
understand that
People are sorting things out, and bloodshed is required. You know, unfortunately for Israel, if they don't exterminate every person in Gaza, basically
right.
you have created another multi generations of people who are going to want to kill you, pretty much. I mean, it's just insane to me when you think about it. I said, you got to get rid of these people, because if you do not, I mean, bruh, you're not gonna be. Everybody's gonna be radicalized, basically, right? You're not gonna be able to tell them anything. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Millions of people, a couple million people at that. I mean, bruh, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Because you know we have the history to some stuff, but to be living it real time, to watch an entire place get leveled, and then watch all the political spin, and then who's supporting whom, and it is very interesting on that level. But I mean, you know, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, what the British did to the Middle East, and you know, this is what the results of it are in a lot of ways. And then you get into all the local politics in those different areas, bro. It gets. Bro, I had this guy. He wrote a really good book. I just can't remember it right now. He broke down all the different moving parts from Yemen to Qatar to Saudi Arabia and all the connections with North Africa and Europe, etc. Bro, man, it is so convoluted. So many different people. There's so many things at play, and who's working with who at certain times, and trying to blame different people for supporting different people and funding different people. And it's just like, wow. It is very interesting, you know, as different parts of the world is being shaped at different moments in time. We're lucky to be living in a time where we can, you know, get to see a lot of it.
True. Agreed.
Looking at the different enemies. So you know how you say, well, why does Pakistan hate India? And how did they both get nuclear weapons? And why they got the nuclear weapons turn on one another? What's going on?
First of all, how do they get nuclear weapons? That's that's what I need to understand. Because as far as I knew, those countries were never supposed to get weapons. Period.
Yeah, no.
Period. Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Right, but when you look at the history of what happened, it's just funny. It's just so funny that you're living it in a lot of ways too. You know, it's just kind of like, well, I'm living it. So this is where we are. I was born into this, and this is what, you know.
Right.
Nothing I can do about the history of it. That's just what it is. You know, the same with this. It's just funny to me. That's all I'm saying. You look around the world at different things and where we are today, and just how all that history brought us to that, you know, to that point. If certain things was able to maintain, you wouldn't even have that history. So it's fascinating.
True. But yeah, if you want to play that video, man, you can play that video, and if you drop the link, we can wait on if anybody want to come up.
For a minute.
Oh, okay, cool. So,
but like I said, I was gonna do the tariff thing, but I may wait and do that later, maybe next week, or during the week or something.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a real event. These weeks have been kind of eventful, so it's good that we kind of do like a weekly wrap up, man. I kind of like this little thing at the end of the week. Slow days on Saturday and Sunday. I mean, it's
there
like,
was a backup to not backup, but trying to see how many videos did I grab for. Let me see.
They still talking about Jasmine Crockett like she the
I got about 60 videos. You know, I got about 60 videos.
Boy, oh boy. Crazy. Why are y'all afraid of this woman? For what?
I got about 60 videos. Clay, that's what it was, the Clay Kane show I just found. You know what I'm talking
about? Whose video now?
I think his name is the Clayton Kane show.
Ah, yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that's what's the name be on there. What's the girl that be cussing all the time to be on Roland's team channel all the time? You know what I'm talking about. Is it what's her name? She real
Yeah, Reese.
Reese. Yeah, Reese.
Reese. I like Reese.
Man, Reese, man. When I tell you Reese looks just like the women in my family, bruh. It's not even funny.
That is
Very, very just that, you know how that, you know, that kind of like that, you know, very yeah. Yeah, I got Reese in my family. That's for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think when I saw this video, I was thinking about, yeah, this would be good for DC. It's kind of off topic a little bit, but it's still kind of funny.
Yeah, let's go over it, man. Let's go over it. I haven't heard it, so
we weren't gonna do that.
It'll be a real time.
What's your boy name? We're gonna do Nick and Whitlock. I don't know if I have the energy for that.
You sure you want to? Oh man! Oh my goodness, man! Lord have mercy. That fool said you don't got no motion. I got the motion. Nick is funny. Nick is a funny dude, man. He's a funny guy. You're like, you got no motion. He told that Bama, you don't got no motion, bro.
You know what I like about it though? What I like, you know what I do like about it is that just like him, because like, and one of the British guys, one of the British guys been kind of talking about some of this stuff already because he's on the right, and he was just saying how now the right's in charge. Let's not get weird and stuff, right? Let's not get weird. It's kind of funny. But anyway, if you are a representation of Republicans, be it the Hodge twins or Whitlock or Cannon or whoever, Officer Taylor, person, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when they come in contact with certain people of the other persuasion, what's so funny about it is they don't know what to do because they thought this and then this happens. Like, no, it's always been that.
Always have, yeah. Facts.
They let you play. They let you play. You gotta know better.
Yeah.
But anyway, let me play this. I want you to get your thoughts. I just thought it was just something fun to do before we get off the line.
I want to start here. I want to say this. So last week, like I said, me and my boy Ted Wynn, we talked about your conversation around Kamala Harris's speech where she said, "I told you so," when she was speaking before Black women. And so we talked about it, posted on the good YouTube, got a little bit of traffic, and you hit me up and you said, "Yo, love your show." And then we began texting, and you said, "Yo, let's go on each other's show. Let's talk." And here's what I love about that, Van, is that I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, I published my first article like 20 years ago. I've been doing this forever. And so many people in media, they take things so personal and they get so angry and they, turn it into a thing. So I just wanted to say there's a lot of people.
And once again, it's kind of like, you can't take any of that stuff personally, because really what you're trying to do in a situation like that is, or when you're talking, is get to what you think the best strategy for it is, so that people have the things that they need for their lives. So if you center yourself in it, or how people look at you, or what people might be saying about you, it never gets to them. And that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I think said, "I told you so." And Kamala Harris said, "I didn't want to say that. I told you so." And let's play a brief part of the speech that she was giving.
Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so. But I'll say this, fear has a way of being contagious. Okay. When one person has fear, it has a way of spreading to those around them and spreading. And we are witnessing that, no doubt. But I say this also, my dear friends, courage is also contagious.
Courage is also contagious. All right, so Van, tell me, you were on CNN, Abby Phillips show. I've been on there before, and you even said folks are not going to like this. So you probably, had a sense.
Yeah.
And you said that you didn't like her saying "I told you so" because you feel like people are hurting. Tell me what you meant by that.
So what I meant was that I think the most important thing for the Democrats to do, particularly the Democrats, I'm not talking about conversations that people are having on the left, leftist, or just left or liberal thought. The Democrats need to craft a vision of America as a place of freedom and opportunity under their rule and their power. And there were actually two different clips. One was of President Obama, and he was talking about how he would be treated if he were doing some of the things that President Trump is doing. He's right. Another thing that came out, there was a soundbite that we got during the show that I was asked to respond to. And it was with Kamala Harris saying, I don't want to say that I told you so. And what I think personally, Democrats aren't really doing is giving a vision and a version of America that exists with them in power. There's nothing sticky enough vision-wise for people to go, it makes sense for me to proudly advocate as a part of this political caucus. And what it's been about, in my opinion, is how bad things are going to be under Donald Trump, which we see that going the way that she said it was going to go, how much worse things could get. And I don't think in this particular political landscape that works. Matter of fact, we know it doesn't work. We know it doesn't work because it lost. It doesn't work because there's too much counter messaging. There's too much messaging that is about Democrats being the fun police and you not being able to say what you want to say about the liberal and the left having too wide of a coalition. There are too many very simple things that people can glom onto to say, hey, these people kind of seem like the ones that are coming along and always finger wagging at us. And when I think of the Democrats or the left, I think about an inclusive party. I think about a party of working people. I think about a party of paid family leave that allows you to spend more time with your kids when, after maternity and paternity. I think about the party of grandmother's insulin. I think about the party of civil rights and voting rights. I think about all of those things, but nobody else does. And whenever we get people, it seems that when we get people that are really powerful in the party, they're either scolding you or they're folding. Either you're getting Chuck Schumer and the capitulation that you see in the Senate, or you're getting people saying, hey, things are going to be terrible. I told you so. This is why you should have gone with me. So a lot of the things that have been talked about me policing Black women or about me having something to say about Vice President Harris, I take all of that. Like how it comes. There's going to be a cultural penalty that you are going to incur from criticizing a beloved political figure. So all of that's fine. But the central core message for me is not what are the Democrats warning America about. Warning America is okay. Not what they're warning America about. The question to me is, what are they building in America? Like, what are they telling Americans is going to be the result of actually putting them in power? And I don't think that they've done a good job of cultivating that message, and I'm not going to stop saying it.
All right, so let me break this up in two different parts. First, Kamala Harris saying, I didn't want to say I told you so. Part of the reason why I was frustrated with your comments is because there is this ongoing, just focus on Black folks for a minute. There is this ongoing theme in this country.
Can you please pause
when
for
Black
a second?
Folks
Paradox. So that's my first time hearing it in this full context, and I think that people like Van Layton, that's what I'm saying. Like those people that and I understand what he's doing, but he's wrong. He's wrong, bro. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't need Kamala to not be her. She needs to be who she is. She's fine. We talked about that already. That's how she has a way that she does politics. That's cool. You're gonna either like it or you're not gonna like it. They're gonna have a primary. They're gonna either primary her out or not primary out. They're gonna either choose her to run again or they're gonna choose somebody else. That's fine. Fuck that. The messaging part though, nothing wrong with what she said. She should have said, "I told you so." That's what you have to be able to be yourself. At the end of the day, you have to be able to share your message unabated. Nobody's asking you to do this nilly. Oh, I got to placate to this, because the people that you're placating to are not there. They don't even want to hear that, really. They don't care about that. Playing nice and then playing nice and shaking hands and trying to get policy underneath the table, it doesn't work. That's the way of the old kind of, Democratic politician. When it's framed, especially when it's framed through a lens of race, because that's where race do come in, you just need to just be like, I told you so. This is what you get. When you get that, there's a stark difference between me running this country and then him. This is what it would have been with me. This is what it is with him. You're suffering on this level. This is the political game. That's what I'm saying. This is all politics at the moment. Forget about what is what, but this is politics. If you frame it from that time period all the way from, and we're talking about basically her trying to test the waters to see if she's viable for 2028, right? So if you frame it from that standpoint, no, you need to be your most authentic self, and either the people accept it or they don't. Period. Good or bad. That's how I look at it. Because if you go in faking and trying to, I'm gonna do this, leaning in, you're listening to people, you're trying to listen to people like him, Van Lathan, that is basically talking about capitulating to a very small group of people that's on the left. You don't need to do that. You need to go more populist with it. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to chime in. I agree with you completely on this, because she laid out her vision back in October and November, and he had concepts of a plan. His concepts of a plan almost destroyed your economy. In fact, it is devalued the dollar. So this is what you get. And so her "I told you so" is very relevant, makes a lot of sense, and is spot on the money. And she should not apologize, and she should not walk back from that. She should not have to feel like she's walking on eggshells to make that statement that is absolutely and fundamentally true.
So you could play the rest of it, Paradise. We'll come back to it. But yeah. What up, Mike? What's going on?
Or when they
Hey, peace, bro.
Go ahead.
say some kind of version of that, and that was very tame. Kamala Harris is pretty tame, I would argue. When they say something like that, they're told, don't say that. People are hurting. When Malcolm X said, the chickens are coming home to roost, people said, don't you say that. People are hurting right now. When Shirley Chisholm calls out the misogyny in the black community, why she wasn't getting enough black men to support her, she was told, hush, hush. Don't you do that. When Michelle Obama said, this is the first time in 2008 that I have felt proud of my country, silence her. He's going to lose the election because of his wife. Because people are hurting right now. We're in a recession. How dare she say that? When President Barack Obama is at a campaign stop with black people, young black folks in Pennsylvania, and says, hey, I've heard there's some issue with some brothers not wanting to support Kamala Harris. People say, oh, he's finger wagging. He's lecturing. And Kamala Harris says this. And the language that I've heard is that she don't go hard enough. She wouldn't even say America's a racist country. You know what I mean? Like, she just won't go hard enough. And I just felt like, well, goddamn, she just can't win. I thought that was I wanted her to go harder, Van. I wanted her to go on the I Told You So tour. I wanted her to, yes, tell them. Because how long are we going to live in this American fiction? Call it out. Now, Bernie Sanders does it. Other folks do it. So there's that. I feel like when black folks call out what America is, whether they are not.
I'm sorry, I can't. Too many things are getting conflated here. I know, Mike, you may have a whole different idea about this, but when people leverage the moral left authority to what Bernie Sanders standard is, it doesn't make sense, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's it doesn't. Bernie has too many blind spots. He's a 80. How old is Bernie? Like 84, 85 years old now.
I think he's 81.
No, he's older than 81, bro. Well, I'll double check that, but he's in his 80s, man. He's in his 80s. He's sharp as a whip. It doesn't take away from him. He's still very active, but he has a certain mind frame about class that is fixed. And he never really wanted to talk about the racial component and how people view things. He think that you can solve it all through class, and it doesn't work on a general election stage. When you dealing with something that is kind of complicated and is nuanced as the way that people view things and the way they feel about a person that's actually saying it, when he discusses things like that, I don't see it basically resonating on a national level, especially when you take such a blind eye towards race, reparations. You don't have no discussion of it. You don't think that handles some of the issues. You don't talk about the Black racial issues here in this country directly. You kind of obfuscate that through class, even though I understand what his actual argument is. There's an interesting video, Paradise. You probably remember this. Bernie Sanders spoke at public schools in the 90s, bro. Like when me and Paradox was still in school in DC, and I think he spoke at the School Without Walls, man. And he was talking about how unfair the educational system is, but he didn't even understand that what you're looking at is the racial components. Like there's a difference between kids that go, hold on.
X or Barack Obama or Michelle Obama or Shirley Chisholm, we're told hush now. So there's that. And to your point, I hear what you're saying about what Democrats are crafting, but I think we're in a really, that's what Kamala Harris tried to do. She wasn't being catty. She wasn't going below the belt. She was focusing on policy, on an opportunity agenda. This man said he had concepts of a plan. So for me, I think that Democrats, they have to figure out how to combat hate, how to combat Southern Strategy 2.0 messaging. Once upon a time, it was white folks falling for the welfare queen narrative, for the Willie Horton ad. Now it's the trans people, the immigrants, the woke, the DEI. Democrats, whether it was Jimmy Carter or Walter Mondale or Michael Dukakis, they haven't been able to combat that otherism. That sells, that wins elections. Yeah. And I would say at this point, where I'm at, Van, right now, go hard. And the response that I've gotten from my audience, and I was hearing this during the election, like, why isn't Kamala Harris going harder? Fight harder. Go in there. I mean, she dragged them on the debate. So I hear you as far as crafting something, but my fear is they want to go back to the 1990s Democrats. And when Black folks, especially who have power, look how they're treating Jasmine Crockett. They're always telling her to shut up. Build your base, make the choir sing. And that was one of the moments where I said, good for her. And I don't think that she, I think that this going soft, Democrats got to take a risk and go hard. So that's where I am, especially for Black. They even did it to Black folks during Reconstruction. Shut up now. People are hurting right now. So that's what it kind of, I felt differently.
Let me ask you a question. When, just go back to some of the historical examples that you use. When Malcolm X said what he said about JFK, who was his biggest critic?
The Nation of Islam, his own people.
Elijah Muhammad. And,
yeah. Which I disagree with.
Elijah Muhammad silenced Malcolm X for whatever the amount of time that he silenced him after he said that was because strategically, Elijah Muhammad didn't think that was smart to say. What he said to Malcolm, and there were other things at play going on behind the scenes of the nation, but what he said to him was that you just made things hard for all Muslims. Like, you have said something at a time when things are incredibly sensitive, and maybe there was some feeling that you put yourself and your it's far be from me to criticize Malcolm X. I'm just talking about the way history bore it out. Put yourself and what it is that you felt like you had to say above the safety and the existence of the average everyday Muslim going to a Nation of Islam mosque. Because in leadership, there is both the duty to speak truth to power and the duty to bring peace to people. And the question that you litigate is, how do you do that? Like, what are exactly the ingredients to be able to do both? It's interesting that you bring up the America isn't a racist country thing, because you don't have to go hard in order to say that.
Yeah.
You just have to say yes, right? Now, let me ask you a question. When she said that, did you criticize her for saying that, for not agreeing that America is a racist country? Did you say that Kamala Harris should have said that America is a racist country?
No, I that quote was taken out of context for me because they played that 4 or 5 seconds. And also, I always remind people that was a setup from South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. He began saying that. Then everybody was asking every black Democrat, is America a racist country? Let's get you. So when she said, no, I don't think America is a racist country. There's racism here. I forget the exact quote. And here's how we have
America
to
has
fix
to contend
this.
with its racist history. Yeah.
Exactly. So I didn't have an issue with her saying, her not saying that it's a racist country, because I believe that she actually felt that, but she obviously knows there is racism, and I knew it was bait from the right. So I didn't have an issue with her saying that. Now, if she would have said, hell yeah, it is, I would have been cool with that too. But I didn't. But there were folks who were criticizing her, so that would have been more extreme than saying "I told you so." But go ahead.
And this is the point. This is the reason why I asked that. It's interesting that you brought that up, because that to me indicates some sort of political capture. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Or ideological capture, or almost religious capture. And I'll tell you. So what I'm getting from so many people is what she said was true, right? So why would you criticize her in saying something that's true? When that happened, what I got from a lot of people is, well, she has to lie.
Why do we do things the hard way? We're counting through. It's so backwards. It's 2025. This is taxes?
Issa, I got all your forms. I'll take it from here.
Now taxes is getting.
Because if she tells the truth, if she tells the truth, in that situation, it's too much of a political liability.
Some folks said that, yeah.
So in the situation to where she can't speak truth to power about the most central issue to the history of Black Americans in this country, which is whether or not we face a structurally racist system. So she can't speak truth to power in that situation. But in this situation, her speaking truth to power is what should insulate her from any criticism about whether her words are strategically appropriate in the time that we need to be in. All right. So to me, when I look at those two sets of facts, what I start to see is it's not any of that stuff. What we're actually dealing with, to me, seems like something that's not that much different than political cults I've seen elsewhere. Because what it seems like what we're saying is that we just should not have anything to say about politicians, particularly politicians that either we caucus with or that are Black. And let me tell you why that's important, and then I'll stop and see what you think about what I'm saying. When I was looking at Kamala Harris's words, I parsed them apart from her being a Black woman. The first thing I said in my response was, let me hold space for Black women, Black women in leadership. Let me hold space for them. Before I say anything about Kamala Harris, let me not say it and pretend like the context of her being a Black woman in leadership isn't important, because it is important. So the first thing I said was, we need to prioritize Black women in leadership. We need to listen to Black women. We need to make sure that Black women in leadership positions are valued and are exalted, because I truly believe that. I think that, to be honest with you, if I mean, they might say this is pandering. They're not going to like this. Some of them not going to like this. I think if the roles of women aren't uh, uh, prioritized in world civilization right now, we don't have that much time left, particularly in finance and other things like that. That's why I feel like there have been too many roadblocks for women to get in, and women really need voices there. That to the side. And I held space for that. And then what I was doing was criticizing Kamala Harris or criticizing those words, not even Kamala Harris, who I supported and will support for governor if she runs, as a politician and from a strategy perspective. But we didn't really have that argument. We didn't have the argument about whether or not I'm simply wrong about whether or not the Democrats should do that. You and I had it to a degree here. We've had it. The argument that we had was a cultural argument. It was an argument about how could you criticize the first major Black female nominee of the Democrats? How could you say this about Kamala? How could you police Black women's words? How could you do this? And the simple answer to that question, Clay, is that's my job.
Right.
Like, it's my job to hold power accountable. It's my job to interrogate power.
Yeah.
It's my job to ask questions of power.
Yeah.
And at the same way that I'll defend Kamala Harris as a Black woman and the attacks that came to her specifically because she is a Black woman, I will also ask questions as a Black man and as someone who wants to see particularly leftist policies gain traction. I'll ask questions of her. And I'll continue to ask questions of her, just as I'll ask questions of anybody else that's on the left, just as I'll ask questions of President Obama, or just as I'll ask questions of anyone else. Now, if I'm wrong, there are people that are way better at this stuff than me. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But if we get to a situation to where we can't litigate or ask questions of people that we are entrusting with so much sociocultural power, I don't understand how we're supposed to really caucus around that, or how we're supposed to get what we need from the people who are supposed to be serving us.
So let me just say this. I do not think Kamala Harris or any Democrat is above critique. I've gotten criticized.
Hey, I'm sorry about that. That was my kinfolk and everything, my family. You know how that go. But did any of you guys see the CNN clip that they're talking about? Did you see that paradox?
Yeah, that's on Abby Phillips show.
Yeah,
did you want to play that instead?
Yeah, but I need to see that because like I said, I just heard it the way he's explaining it. He was asked in a certain kind of context that he may have taken. I don't know, but to me it still seems to be placating. He's adding sauce to it. It seemed like he had a automatic reaction. You shouldn't say that. Like he disagreed with the whole thing, and he's trying to cover. Like, I mean, man, just stand on it, bro. You disagree, you disagree. It sounds like the brother here, the light skinned brother, got him in a vice a little bit on it. So he kind of see where he went wrong with it. Go ahead, Mike.
No. And to your point, I think Van Lathan is one of those guys who's outspoken and he's always trying to speak on something. And I think he kind of stepped into this. And I think that's what Clay is trying to get across to him, that, Clay is kind of checking him on this as
right.
He's kind of checking him. Yeah.
Right.
And Van doesn't really have a response, really. And there's really no disagreement between Van and Clay and Clay at this point, primarily because there's a racial component to this that's not being discussed, that it's a Black person, whether it's Obama or it's Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, or Harris, Kamala Harris, or name your Black person within the CBC. They're all put into the same lens in terms of how they actually engage politics, where they have to walk this sort of fine line. Whereas Bernie Sanders can come out here and say all these things about billionaires and all this stuff. And because the thing here is, Bernie said in November in I think it was even November, December, right after the election results came back, that he would find some common ground to work with Trump. Fast forward to today, he's on the
Yeah,
tour right now,
yeah, I know.
going against these folks. So they're allowed a sort of maneuverability in politics from on the progressive side, or what Bernie is considered to be the progressive caucus. They're allowed to maneuver and say things that black elected officials just can't say. And so when someone like Kamala Harris comes out and says, "Oh, well, I told you so," then it's this sort of pushback, like, "Oh, well, wait a second, you can't say that."
Yeah, how much longer you want to play the whole? You want to still play this whole clip? Is there some other good stuff in here, Paradox, or because how did it land with you though, Paradox? I'm curious to hear your what did you think?
Just interesting. I didn't. I'm not here to attack progressives or Democrats, so I just thought it was interesting. That's all. His position he's moving, and it's just very funny how he has to move between his race and then other stuff and back and forth and stuff. So it's interesting how he's
like making room for black women and Kamala. That's what I'm saying. Like you guys put Kamala in a bad position because they making her be like the avatar for everything, black women and feminist rights, and she ain't that ain't need what that was. That was just a critique about. I told you this was going to happen. I told you so. Trump did it for 4 straight years while he was not in office, Paradox. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? This guy is tearing up the government. Like it was just, I don't understand. And it's not no either or. I'm just saying, let her do what she do. She had her way of doing it. That's her slick way of doing it. Let her be who she is. Like I said, it all comes out at the end of the day. They like her, they don't. There's plenty of people that do not like Kamala Harris, bro. Period. That's fine. Let her fall or rise based off who she truly is. I'm willing to rock with that. I didn't see anything wrong with what the woman said, especially because I listened to that whole speech. I listened to that speech. I didn't know that they had commentary on it this way. You see what I'm saying? They got special commentary on it, which is kind of like, this is weird. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, why are these people making such a big deal off something that's like you want to talk about a nothing burger? That's a nothing burger. That's very tame to even react to something like that. That's crazy. That's madness, bro. That is madness to me.
Well, no, when he was talking about just what he just said a few seconds ago, which is just trying to hold her accountable for power and people are in power and all this stuff. I'm like, well, first of all, you got to get into power to hold them to anything.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you, when he's talking though, I hear the progressiveness in his language, so it's funny. It's just interesting, It's too
many checks. It's too many checks and balances for me, man. As a black man, I mean, I already got enough checks, man. I don't need all this other stuff.
I mean, you say all the time, make a choice. If you're gonna pick race, do race, but you can't.
Exactly. You can't do this in and out.
That race, Bernie Sanders, back and forth. Your Bernie Sanders race, Cenk Uygur race, you're moving. I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, you gotta run through the tape.
Just be a progressive. You're gonna be a progressive, right? All lives matter. If you're all lives matter. Working class, white, black doesn't matter.
Like the sister is.
It's all over the place.
What's her name? Like the sister is. What's her name? She falls on it all the time. What's her name? The one that does this
all the time.
She just
Rihanna.
Yeah. Oh my God, bro. Beautiful
Rihanna.
sister, everything. No, no shade, intelligent,
she a
smart, whatever, all that. She a true progressive. She not only that, she a true believer. She a true believer.
She all in on that, bro. Yeah, she all in, bro.
Well, she was a surrogate.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just saying she was a surrogate for Bernie.
Right. I know.
Yeah. So
I know.
But she's not with Congressional Black Caucus, right? She doesn't look at the Congressional Black Caucus as a progressive caucus. She just looks at Bernie and that side as the progressives and the CBC is something else. But if you really look at the track record of the CBC, they are probably just as, if not more progressive than the Progressive Caucus itself.
I just wonder if we just need to play the 94 speech that Biden sat there and spoke when he talked about trying to get the actual crime bill passed. And the people that sat there Bernie Sanders to his right. I mean, these people are sitting there. They like, I don't understand. Do these people know? Do you know who Bernie Sanders is? Like, do you know who this man is? Like, he's caucused with the Democrats since he's been in office. He's not an independent entity. He's claimed independence. He has different views. He speaks about classism. He has a lot of great things to say. I agree on a lot of stuff that he says, especially when it comes down to economics and how to basically make government into a so-called this kind of thing where we can kind of filter the money a little bit easier in Washington and disperse it to people. There's some agreement there. But as far as the things that he actually have done on the Hill, he has voted on plenty of policies that are passed that these people, even in his constituency, disagree with wholeheartedly. He's friends with Joe Biden. This man has known him for most of their lives. They've known each other for like 50 plus years, bruh. Like, I don't get this. That's what I'm saying. Like, it aggravates me, is what I'm saying. It just aggravates me because it just means that if you're going to hold people to a certain standard, at least hold the history of them all the way, like swallow everything that they have done, because you basically are holding Biden to this so-called, he's separated from everybody else. Like, he's by himself in this. When it's Bill Clinton that basically signed the bill. he signed the bill, bro. Like, anyway, that's a whole nother tangent. I'm not going to get on that, but I'm just saying, like, just go back, look at 90s Bernie Sanders, look at some of the stuff that he voted on, and I guarantee you will come back with a more nuanced view of him as a politician. He's not this savior that's basically wagging his finger on the Hill all the time and standing on business to the point where he's not participated in the shenanigans of Washington. If you're there that long, you participate. You are part of the issue. You're part of the problem too. It's just, I just don't get it, man. That's all I'm saying, bro. You know, all the corporate money that goes through Vermont. I mean, come on, man. Let's not. I'm not. Whatever, bro. But do you have the video from CNN that he did where he spoke? Do you have it on tab, Paradox? The clip that I guess the question was asked to him.
Yeah, I'm
just so I can
grabbing
see
it
it.
now.
I'm trying to see if I can see it in full context, because he's making it seem like he was asked a question directly. Did they ask him directly about race, Mike, or what was the question that was asked to him? You could paraphrase it for me. Do you remember?
I don't recall.
Yeah. See,
I'm trying. I'm about to play it. I got it here. I'm just trying to get it up because they done buried that video.
Yeah, but Mike, what's your understanding of Sanders? I know you more into that kind of camp, the progressive camp, and more like into what Bernie Sanders is saying. I mean, am I too hard on him? Am I being like too? Am I like not really seeing everything that everybody else is seeing when it comes down to his support? Because he has like he has split the black progressive or the black support when it comes down to how people view the Democratic Party and how they view Bernie Sanders as being the candidate that they would choose to run and win in office. Like, I'm trying to really understand, because this keeps coming up each time, and I'm pretty sure, even though he's at an advanced age, thanks to Nagone, I think he said he's 83 in the chat.
Yeah, he's
going to be 85, 86 when it comes down to the cycle. So, I mean, we're gonna run Bernie out there again.
Yeah, he did. He already put his name out there a couple months ago. So he's going for one more term until he's about.
Jesus Christ, man!
So if he serves a 6-year term, and you're talking about he'll be done when he's about 91, right? If he's 83 now, he'll be done when he's 91. So he's thinking about 2032. I guess to your question, I think the thing about Bernie is he is seen as he's a registered independent, but two, he's seen as this white male, the archetype of progressivism, even though his track record does not necessarily show that. Kamala Harris got more votes in Vermont than he did when he ran. So the idea that Bernie is this sort of lightning rod for or a template for progressive politics falls short at the waistline when you look at what legislation he has pushed for or what legislation he has signed on to and how he looks at the working class, because the statement that he made in November was that the Democratic Party lost the working class. But
Right.
if Democrats had 80% turnout for the black vote, then you can't say that Democrats lost the working class, because the working class was predominantly black and
Right.
Latino. The working class he's referring to is the white vote, but he's
Yeah.
not going to come out and say that. And so he plays that sort of fast and loose with the progressive politic in the working class and socialist ideals, without actually putting more nuance to who's working class and who's really impacted by Republican policies. Because when you take into consideration black male unemployment, that's not a discussion.
Mhm.
But when he wants to go on his little tours about, eat the rich and all that stuff, he goes out to the Midwest. Well, if you thought that the rich and these sort of billionaires and trillionaires and all that stuff was such a problem, why don't you talk about how they, capitalize off of black plight? Because you can't sell that to black people. You're trying to sell it to white folks.
Mhm.
You
So you
think
don't
that
go
you're
to
going
the
to
back-
galvanize them.
Right. You don't go to the black farmers in South Carolina, North Carolina. You don't talk with them, deal with their issues, especially when it comes down to how they would basically cut out of the actual funding and getting subsidized in some of their farming and stuff like that. Like it's just a lot of things that he did, man. And I'm not with it, bro. And like I said, he says a lot of things that I do agree with. There's no doubt about it. But when it comes down to like him being part of the machine that people are complaining about, and then to kind of separate him from being a participant, that's all I'm saying. You're separating him like he's not part of that.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I had such an issue,
And he's also considered to be anti-war, right? But he, in Vermont, they build parts for the F-35,
Right.
Lockheed Martin fighter jet. But nobody talks about that. How he brought that over there. See, he's able to maneuver and get his way around things, man. He's real slippery with the politic, and but he's seen as this avatar for socialist, leftist progressive ideals. When if you really look at the Congressional Black Caucus and you look at black elected officials on the left, they have pushed for more progressive ideals than even he has. Baby bonds is another one, right?
Yep.
That was Kamala Harris and Cory Booker.
Yeah, I know. And he ain't with that. He says no, right on his face. Nah, not with. Bring up reparations. Nope. I mean, the things that he stand on are dead no's. And the thing is, you don't even hold this white man that's 83 years old at that standard, knowing that he's been on this planet this long, in the Senate this long, and then to have him say no on its face like that is nasty work, especially somebody that has seen the civil rights movement as a grown person, as a grown man.
In his state, convicted people can vote. If you're in prison, you can come out and vote.
Yeah, but Vermont is what, 97% white?
Yeah, but the thing here is you should be advocating. If you're a
exactly.
If you're
right.
a real progressive, you should be advocating for that in every
Exactly
state across
right.
the nation.
Exactly right. Facts. In places like Florida, in places like Texas, in places like where there should be the same thing. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Paradox, please.
What Van Lathan said.
Stuff, man. I don't want to like this.
Here is what Van Lathan said. Listen to this.
I don't like this.
Like what?
I don't like the I told you so stuff, man. I don't like it.
It's true.
It's true. It's definitely true. All of it was predicted. We need to listen to black women. We need to prioritize black women in leadership, all of that. But when people are struggling and when people are confused, I do not think it strikes the right chord to be like, I told you so. And
I agree with that.
I just don't think that it does. And I think that coming from the left right now, the leadership needs to be stronger about what their messaging is. Not about, I told you so, but I tell you how you're going to be better.
First of all, I think it's really unfair to take one line from the speech
So he did what he that's what I'm saying. Like when you oppose a candidate so strongly, so he probably is a Bernie bro. I don't know.
Check this out.
I don't think he really was like really in full support of Kamala, or he held his nose and voted for, I don't know whatever the case may be. But when it's like that, and you have the complications that people had with her, you'll look for anything that's like this to kind of like put her into this kind of box of, well, it's okay. But I guarantee you, if Bernie Sanders said, "I told you so," that it will be applauded on the left, bro. And that's what I just cannot stand. If you just put the same words in the whole speech, the next 10 to 15 minutes, it was exactly what he was talking about. Talking about what leadership would look like. Talking about what, I mean, she even throwing balls. She even still talking about working with Republicans. Like this is insanity, bro. Like you are talking about somebody. You're talking about the person. The person you're talking about is what you're describing in your second sentence. I think it should be about building, and this is why you should vote for me, dude. She's doing that.
But she did that the whole entire. Even brought Liz Cheney out.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So this means that you got clickbait. You got clickbaited.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, me knowing how she is, I know that she capitulates to working for both sides and working in coalition for both sides, because that's what Joe did. That's what Joe Biden used to do. That's how he worked it. Mm-hmm. So as no matter how progressive she is, she feels like she still has to work with the other side. She's not trying to strong arm. That's her personality. The told you so is look where we at right now. That's just facts. This is just the lay of the land. This is what it was. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. Didn't have to be this way. Could have been easier. Could have been a better transition with me. That I let her be who she is. I mean, I don't know why he had to talk about black women. He's speaking to other people. That's what I'm saying. So when you start doing that, you're talking about other groups, which means that you're not even talking about the candidate. You're talking about things that's outside of even the whole question that they asked you. I can kind of hear, oh, I don't like this, I don't like this. You're thinking about all kinds of other things. You're not even talking about what the subject matter was, what she was there to speak on, and that kind of deal. Like, come on, bruh. Like, really? Are you serious? That's when it gets ridiculous for me, because they do the same thing to Jasmine Crockett. But you know why I like Jasmine so much? Because she stand on it. She don't give a fuck, nigga. She don't care. Sorry about it. I'm talking my little code break here, but she don't care. She don't care. She operates just like them. All that ridiculousness, she throws it right back at them. She did it today. So anytime that Marjorie Taylor Greene wants the smoke, she gives it right back immediately. It ain't even paradox. Do she wait on it? Do she capitulate to her? Does she say, "Oh no, I'm sorry, no"? What does she do when she gets bugged? What she do? She nuts. She bugged. Ain't that what she like? You want? she don't hesitate.
She's not a soft shoe. She's
no,
not.
But
I'm
saying,
she doesn't walk
like
backwards.
Like her or not, she gonna be like, I don't care. I don't like you. That's what it is. We're gonna come here. We're gonna do. If you really want to debate, you want to talk about something. And what I love about it, she always backs it up with facts. So everything I keep hearing people complain about, but like, okay, but what is she saying that's wrong?
It's the fact that it's agency, DC. It's agency.
No, I get it though, Mike. I get it. But what I'm saying is, attack her points. I can see the things where you can attack, but you're mad on what she's saying. But she's attacking like they do. But you don't see that. So that's where the tit for tat comes, because now you're seeing a bulldog that's on the other side of the fence. She's like, this is how I am.
Yeah.
So she's like, this is how I am. I don't care. You don't like it. I don't care. So somebody told her, you're gonna just be who you are, basically. Because like I said, we in Paradox, you're right. This next time that she gets primary, it's gonna tell me a lot about whether she's gonna remain.
No, but but to your point, DC, she's
I think she might be running for governor, by the way. I think.
No, she's going to be running for a Senate. She's running for a Senate position. But the thing here is,
don't run for governor, Texas. That ain't gonna work.
No, because she has an 80% chance of winning in that area because of
the senator's race, though, right? The senator's race.
Yeah, the Senate.
Yeah.
Because when she was in Texas,
because Colin was like, he was like liberal light, or not liberal light. He was basically Republican light. So he was pretty much still trying to project that kind of machismo and try to be like, well, see, we just vote for the same one until we get a better candidate the next term, instead of having a black guy that kind of come in and do all the soft shoeing. So I get it. Now go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no. What I was just saying was that Jasmine Crockett was in the Texas House of Representatives before she got into the congressional seat that she's in now, and so she's always kept that same energy. I think people who are just now following politics will think that she's outlandish, but she's always been this way.
She's always been like
exactly. She's always stood on her square, and I think we haven't seen this in the Democratic Party for a while. Like, you haven't seen the clapback like this for a while. Even when you want to talk about like Obama has some clapbacks, but he's nothing like
it was always slick. It was always, but I'm saying what I love about her, it be on the floor and she be like, it's immediate, bruh. I love watching because she don't even give them a quarter. They don't even want her to be on committees, dog, because they know she gonna eat. She gonna be the most studied. She's gonna have all the laws in order. Let me know when I'm wrong, Paradox. She's gonna be the most informed. She was if you look at her history, she was a brilliant lawyer. You can't even find a case that this woman was brilliant in litigation. Brilliant, bruh.
You're right on the money, DC.
She was not. She was a bulldog, bruh. And I'm telling you, she's what the right wants. If they could weaponize her and turn her to the dark side, bro, this would be like turning dark face. Like this dude. It would turn the tables if they can find somebody with the kind of talent that she has and the kind of everything the same, just arguing the points from their side and their point of view. They will love this woman. She will be on Fox 24/7, bro. 24/7. You hear me?
But that's exactly correct. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
She's driving the party in a direction that they were unafraid, or they were afraid to go in before. So now she's empowering, AOC. No, I shouldn't say AOC, but she's empowering other members who wouldn't have not done it had she not been there. Right? You're seeing more from congressional Congresswoman Presley. You're seeing more from like Chantel Brown out in Ohio. You're seeing more from the two new ones, one from Delaware and the one from Maryland. You're seeing more of Democrats really stand up and be more outspoken because of her. And that's exactly what the party needs. But people don't know how to receive it because it's coming from them. Now, if it was coming from Bernie Sanders, then they would be perfectly fine with that, even though he's not a member of the party.
But this is the key thing that people have to look at as well. She is being very outspoken. She's out front, just like you said, DC, especially with the facts. But the key of it also is that she's also very popular amongst the kind of rank and file Democrats right now. This is what they're saying is this is the type of person that we need out front. So you have a lot of that. Now, of course, we have black men in the community, and we know what Democrats and black men were talking about who can't stand seeing her out there. But on the whole, she is running a major clapback campaign the way I see it. And that's how, and people are liking that. That's exactly what the Democratic Party needs. These are the type of people who they're looking at as out front. AOC, Jasmine Crockett. She is of one of the more mentioned folks who are being looked at as the firebrand in the party, who's actually giving it back to the Republicans. And Republicans are definitely having a hard time with her. They don't like her at all. She's hitting them really hard at every turn. And she's a problem for them. She's a problem. She will be a greater problem coming down the line as well, and they see that. So they would like to shut her down if they could. But we have to be very careful as far as who in the Democratic Party on the Democratic side are really trying to shut her down as well, because we have those problems too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's that they're gonna find a way to buy somebody up and get somebody to primary her on up out of here. Get her out of the paint. For real. Like this is different than Cori Bush was more about really pushing the legislation part of it because she was a bulldog too, but she was way more quiet. But she wasn't educated. I don't even know if Cori Bush has a degree in school. Does she have a degree? Actually, I know she don't go to law school.
No, she's a registered nurse. She was a
right. So she wasn't. That's what I'm saying. So the thing, Jasmine Crockett is a litigator, bro. By trade. Sure. And you can tell she is just no let up, bro. Like what she did this week, shutting them down on real time. Like they try to jump her, bro. I love it because I like that kind of smoke. Like you just be in a room with just full of just foolishness, and then just all of a sudden just break the room, just break them, cold break them. Because what you got to say, if it ain't an insult and you ain't talking about my accent, whatever the case may be, if you ain't talking about the facts and you ain't talking about Nathan, You ain't talking about Nathan.
But she's got facts.
No,
She's got the facts on her side.
But here's the big thing, because I know this is going to trigger some dude. But oh man, but here's the thing. Here's what I'm really trying to say. I really want people to really stand on business. If you look at this from a strictly political landscape, she whips them on a weekly basis. On a weekly basis, bruh, without support. Not the kind of support that she needs. Nobody speaks up for her. None of those white women that's in the that's on the Democratic side, they don't sit up here. I stand with Jasmine. You know, they're not rocking like that for her, like that in public, and trying to really. She's on her own, and she knows it. She's not popular. She's pop. No. Let me put it like this: she's popular. She's not well liked. There's a difference. So there are a lot of people that are split on her. Either you got love for her, you try to protect her, you don't. And even the people that's trying to protect her, they doing it in silence because they don't want to be targeted, because they may be in a district that may have a kind of split 50-50 down the line. What are you doing, baby girl? What are you doing? But so that is the reason why I'm just like, when I hear people talk about her, and I hear a lot of people, especially in this particular space, talk about her, I still haven't heard a legitimate political point that you're trying to make about her. She don't talk about black men in a bad light. She don't talk about black men being negative, this and that. She don't talk down on us. She ain't trying to inhibit us from doing anything. She's not heavy on the feminist track. I'm really trying to figure out what is the issue that you guys have with her, outside of the way that she's coming at the right, the same way that they have basically came at the left.
She's a black woman. That is.
No, but I know I get that part. But what I'm saying is, because I really want them to see it and be like, okay, this is what we don't agree on, and I can get with that. If there's something that you don't agree on, the way she's basically doing it, and you think that's going to basically hurt whatever the case may be, she's just wrong on these issues, then that's a different argument. But most of the time, it's about the personality that she has. It's about the eyelashes. It's about her saying sister girl stuff and dancing.
No, they're saying she's ratchet. I mean, here's Dennis Sperling, a fraternity brother of mine, black and gold. Here we are. I mean, this guy's a lawyer, knows the deal. Says Jasmine Crockett is ratchet. Ratchet. That is his. I mean, we were talking about it last night in our fraternity meeting.
It's a colleague.
Actually, this was brought up.
It's a colleague of his in tech. They both
and they're out of Texas.
Law.
And they're out of Texas, and that's what this man has to say. So with the alphas, with many of us are lawyers. Many of us are in the legal field. Very heavy there, and people are looking at this brother like, where are you really coming from? So there are people wondering whether he's paid off or not. I'm not trying to get into him, but the bottom line, very simply, is you're not going to hear any cogent breakdown on her positions with respect to the policy or any of the numbers. You're not going to hear anything like that because they don't have that. They have to break her down on some personal her weave, or she's ratchet or something really crazy. And this woman got more degrees in the thermometer, and these people up in here talking crazy. I mean, you have to look at where they're really coming from. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I think what needs to be proposed is, what's the alternative to Congresswoman Crockett? What's the alternative? Who if they don't think she's the ideal candidate or elected official to speak in the capacity that she's speaking, who's the alternative?
There is no alternative.
No, I'm saying by their standards, who's the alternative? So
they don't have one. They don't have one either, Mike. They don't have one. Just get her out. The deal is get her out, put anybody else in, get her out. That's it. And make sense out of it. Try to make sense out of that. Make sense out of it. Whatever sense you can make out of that, try it.
What was the thing that she said this week? I think that people was mad about. Let's say that this is a plan. What was the thing? Plantation, something like that. Okay. So I think she made some reference to the somebody asked her a question about, oh man, because I remember the way it was context, and she went overboard with the contextual framing of it. And like I said, I'm not here. See, this is the thing. I know that she goes too far sometimes as far as exaggerate, but you know why I don't have a problem with it? It's because when you have a Marjorie Taylor Greene on the other side that does this on a regular, you have all of these other people, not just her, but you have these other people that's on the other side that goes hard like that, and they don't get none of this smoke.
Absolutely.
I don't see the equivalency when it comes down to this kind of sharing that kind of critique when you talk about the ridiculousness of what somebody is saying. Okay, I weigh against the knowledge that they do have, and there's no way that you can say that Marjorie Taylor Greene is on the same intellectual level as far as litigation and legislation than a Jasmine Crockett. It's just it's not even the same thing, bro.
Keep in mind that Lauren Boebert out of Colorado just has her GED. That's it.
GED, dropped out of high school, and remember, she was a single mom. She was a single mom having a baby very early as well.
Oh no,
and
but I get it.
And everybody knows she was dancing on the pole, and she was dancing on the pole.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough.
That's fine. But what I'm saying is, when they try to make it seem like she is not experienced, she doesn't know what she's talking about, she doesn't have. That is not the argument to have. If she's wrong, what is she wrong about? Outside of exaggerating and talk about plantation this, plantation that, I get that. Outside of the hyperbole, the points that she's trying to make, what are you attacking? Because when she gets down to it, she's going to point to legislation that she's trying to get passed, or that she's trying to prove, she's trying to get pushed through. And she's talking about them being hypocritical and complacent on allowing these things to remain. And most of the time, it's hurting people that are at the margins. It was one case, he said, I was representing 90% of this particular area that she was speaking for was white and impoverished. I think it was something to do with either it was something to do with some kind of redistricting law that was out in her region due to some kind of pollution or something to that effect. And she was bringing it to the house. She said, like, most of the people that I'm talking about, white, but just the fact that I'm even bringing it to the house, or I'm bringing it to the forefront, you guys are shutting it down because it's coming through me. And the people that I'm representing in this particular part of my district are 90% white. Like, those are just facts. And that's what you don't want to deal with. That's the part that she gets them on. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's and it bruh, I'm sorry, bro. Like I say, a lot of people come in and out of the house. You see a lot of people only get one term, they get primary up out of there. She may not last long. I don't know what's going to happen with her. But if she remains a stalwart and she becomes kind of like solidified in the house, if she wants to kind of go to the Senate and then move around and do whatever she's going to do, then man, yeah, it's going to be difficult to deal with her, man, because she's going to be difficult to deal with. It's like a young Maxine Waters, man, just more direct than Maxine was when she was younger. Because Maxine was a lot like that.
And she's a bulldog and tenacious. It's that energy level she has, she brings. She's dead on the facts because being an attorney, she's going to be very factual on the facts, as we know. She's going to be on top of that, but she's a bulldog, and she's going to be tough. She's going to be very difficult to deal with. That's why they don't like her. They see what she is, and she's young. She's not 65 or something like that. She's young, so she's got some time to be in there. She's going to be a factor. That's for sure.
This will be her second term, so she is she's in a pretty good position right now. I don't see her. I don't see her losing her district at all.
You don't think so?
No. The numbers don't seem to support that.
Yeah, what district is she in exactly? Because they'll run to somebody that's.
She's in Dallas.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. That it's just they're gerrymandering that shit. They'll change the way that map looks, man, and it can get funky, man. But we'll see.
They'll try, but she has black and she has a significant Latino population in her district as well, or not so much significant, but a larger number. So she does have a fairly mixed district. If they're going to do that, they're going to have to gerrymander it pretty hard to put a lot of white folks in.
And what has been noticeable, she has people, she has people to testify on her behalf. That's what it says. She brings people up to say, this is what happened, right? And these are normally white people that she's bringing up, like to kind of like reinforce what has happened in her area or whatever when she's trying to bring legislation to the floor. And it's like, damn, man, like she be having ducks in a row, bro. It's crazy. It's just,
Because they
just
need
like,
her, DC. They need her.
Yeah.
They need her.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they need her just as much, if not more, than she needs them.
Very much so. Very much so.
Because who else is going to speak on their behalf? Nobody else is doing it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have another video you wanted to kind of play, man? We can probably play a couple more videos and get up out of here, man. But you have you want to play one of the I guess one of the Jasmine Crockett ones, the most recent one that they had on her. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to kind of like go over the one that she was where she was shutting them down in the house this week. Do you have that one, Paradox?
I don't know which one is it though. What was she talking about?
Congressman Jasmine Crockett is a Democrat of Texas. She serves on both the Oversight and Judiciary Committee. She served as a public defender before she went to Congress, and she joins me now. First, Congressman, it feels like we have been in this kind of some version of a constitutional crisis or showdown between the courts and this administration almost since day one. Are you heartened at least by the unanimity of the decision of the court saying at least siding with the district judge provisionally here?
I mean, to a certain extent, I feel like I'm in an abusive relationship. I think all Americans may feel like we're in an abusive relationship with this administration, as well as with the Supreme Court that struggles to really earn the trust of American citizens, right? And at a time in which we really are wondering whether or not there is going to be this ultimate clash between an order from the Supreme Court and this administration, again, we're kind of in this space where they're basically saying in a unanimous way, which again, as you pointed out, doesn't happen very often. They are saying, you know what, we all agree. And it is very difficult to get them to all agree on anything. So we will see what this administration does. But as far as I'm concerned, if you can figure out how to get them down there, you can figure out how to get them back.
One thing that has been clear in the early polling that we have, and again, polling is inexact, but to the extent that we have a sense across different polling outlets, is that the approval rating is relatively low for the sitting president. It's now sitting in the low 40s. He's underwater, as we say. The one issue that he is doing relatively well at is on immigration. And there's a kind of line of argumentation that comes from certain quarters, which is Democrats should just keep quiet about that. And you can't convince people on this stuff, and they kind of want to see these deportations. I wonder how you feel about that in terms of making an affirmative.
TurboTax Free Edition, 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition.
I wonder how HoneyBook can help grow my business.
Much, and I appreciate the speaker for admitting openly on the record that it is unconstitutional. But the concerns that I have are around the fact that we are sitting here pretending as if we all are looking out for the Constitution, yet we are coming from completely different angles. So let me go to Professor Shaw. To be clear, which branch of government is responsible for interpreting what is and what is not legal?
Well, the Supreme Court, the Article 3 judicial branch has the final word.
So the judiciary is who it is. So it's not the legislators.
You know, I'd say every branch has an obligation to interpret the Constitution. The final word comes from the courts.
From the courts. It's not the former speakers. It's not everyday people. It's not the president. I just wanted to make sure that we understood who it was that was responsible. And what is so frustrating for so many of the American people, the ones that are watching right now and otherwise, and the reason that they're outraged and scared is because what we see right now is a diminishing of all these institutions. Right now, we have a legislative branch that has decided that it intentionally would disregard their duties. They are not checking the president whatsoever. The only check that the American people have had thus far has been from the judiciary. And the judiciary isn't pulling this out of the sky. In fact, they are coming from basic reading of like the plain language of the Constitution for all of those that are constitutionalists when we start talking about things such as what birthright citizenship is. But one of the things that I want to make sure that I get to, because there are deeper implications if we go down this rabbit hole. Imagine the type of world where the president does whatever he wants to and no one can rein him in. It's a world that right now many people are afraid of. Let me put it this way. If Joe Biden would have done an executive order for abortion, despite what the Supreme Court said, that would have been a problem. Imagine if the state of Colorado kept Trump off the ballot and other states follow suit. That would have been a problem. Or imagine if Jack Smith ignored Eileen Cannon and with the help of an activist judge decided that he was going to prosecute the sitting president anyway. The problem that we have right now is that if we continue down this road, then we will not have a rule of law, because we have people that are currently serving and they're saying things like, ignore the judge's order. What it means to have law and order in this country is that you follow the order and you go through the appeals process, even if you dislike what the judge did. Thank you, and I yield.
In a moment emblematic of America's current constitutional crossroads, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett delivers a blistering, principled indictment of institutional decay, full clarity, and committed to upholding the Constitution is not precisely a Constitution and the observable.
Yeah, I was trying to look for this
So I have
past
to
this
go
past
around
week.
the country and educate
That's
people
cool.
about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now.
That's it. That's what she said. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton.
That's it. Yeah. Pause it real quick.
are.
Pause it real
You
quick.
can't.
Pause it real quick. Now, contextually, I could see why that would be a problem for a lot of people, especially some black people. I get it. I get it. That ain't the audience that she was talking to, though. It really wasn't. That's why it's like hold on to like what you got to say, because sometimes a conversation is had, but it's not for you. It's not for you. And what was unique about that, I think me and you, Paradox, we talk about that all the time about cheap labor coming into this country. Basically, is what it's basically what she's saying, but it's in different kind of context. Would you agree with that, or you don't see it that way, Paradox?
I agree with you.
So she's explaining it from the inverse of how people, are not, you're not going to do this. But she speaks so it's like the tact is not I don't think she should change. Like I said, everything ain't gonna come out soft and rosy. You're not gonna like everything she has to say. I don't necessarily agree with the context that she used as far as like comparing it to picket cotton. That doesn't land well. So what though? Like I said, at the end of the day, the overall point was that trying to leverage immigration or cheap labor, like we're not using the immigration process to do cheap labor, is something that falls on its head. And culturally, it doesn't work, because our particular people that are here are not going to do that anymore. We're not cultured that way to work manufacturing jobs or farming the way that some people do when they come to this country, and willing to do, by the way, willing to do it without much of a fuss. Would you I mean, am I saying something that's incorrect here? That's not politically viable in an instance, or what do you think, Paradox? What's going on with that?
No, it's viable.
So
You
that's
get no pushback from me on that.
yeah. So that's why I think that because I think that this is one of the things that they did click her on, and they say that she was pretty much using the slave narrative to drive politics, and I can understand why people would say that, but the reason why she made that point so vividly strong and direct was to kind of bring out the overarching point, which Trump kind of alluded to, saying, hey, they need workers. I mean, he said it pretty much said the same thing, but it's like I said, it's a different perspective, different perspective on the labor that needs to be used for working with farmers, working with some of the people, and then we're going to have these people kind of still having access to citizenship on the back end of it. Isn't that what President Trump said this week also? Same thing, right? Just in a different kind of context?
Yep. Same thing.
Okay. All right.
Pay us enough to find a plantation.
Making sure.
You need to check out Multi-Pants. They're cargo pants with a straight
Just
leg
making
fit.
sure, bro.
The fabric is also
All right, the Supreme Court sides with President Trump. Yes, the president will continue to use his authority to deport illegal alien, gangbangers, and criminals under the Alien Enemies Act, as they are, in fact, alien enemies.
Now, the ruling is a slapdown of the D.C. District Court, chock full of liberal judges, which from the start, as the justices noted, did not have jurisdiction here, considering the plaintiffs were in Texas. Rogue activist judges take note.
What the judge ruled was going forward from this day forward, all those planes that are gone are there. Those people are staying. So there are a lot of reasons why Americans are safer. From this point forward, the hearing will be held, it's a habeas hearing, in the court of confinement, which means in Texas, Americans are safer.
Agents carrying out.
So mad that he is like bring in Tomi Lahren, Outkick host and host of 100 Days with Tomi Lahren on Fox Nation. And Tomi, I don't mean to laugh. The comment was funny from Kristi Noem, but this is a very serious issue. And this was a very big win for the Trump administration.
Hope all of the courts, but all immigrants into the
AG Bondi says that the jurisdiction-wide country.
you know, confined to the entire country.
For some reason, Tomi, I'm out with another doozy of a comment. Let's all listen. We're getting it.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country. Okay, so I'm like, we done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us.
Well, she continues to scrape the moral bottom of the bucket. But I'd also say this, as somebody who is from South Dakota, a lot of my neighbors are ranchers and farmers that really enjoy doing that work. So I'm not so sure she's ever met any of those, but I'm sure living in Texas, she's had to run into a few. I'd also say this, it's not just Jasmine Crockett, but we hear this on repeat from several Democrats who I guess are finally being honest that they view illegal immigrants as the new form of their cheap slave labor. And it's really disgusting that they view human beings that way, especially when they seem to go out of their way to keep the criminal ones in our country. But I don't see a human being as somebody who should just be exploited for cheap labor. I would hope, again, that the Democrats would see the light on this. But I guess we can at least thank Jasmine Crockett for always being transparent about her true feelings.
Well, exactly.
It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's hear from the illegal immigrants in the country, because who else is going to pick the cotton, y'all?
I had to go around the country and educate our country now. And you're not.
So to be clear, she sees immigrants as some subservient class. Just in case you were wondering, she wants to import an underclass to do the work she considers beneath her. Now to leftist activist Kylie Brewer explaining common ways white people are racist.
Hi, my name's Kylie, and here are some things that white people say without realizing they're being racist. Number one, coming in hot, we have when a white person is telling a story and they mention the race of the person for no reason. That waitress, and then mention how she was Hispanic as if that somehow has something to do with her character.
Wait, what? So telling a story and mentioning the race of the people involved is racist, but only if white people do it. But if I'm telling a story as a woman of color and mention, for example, a silly white girl called Kylie delivering daft lectures about racism, that's perfectly okay. Let's get some more wisdom about racism from Kylie.
Number two, telling a story about someone from a different race and then doing an accent to make the story come to life. Number three, saying the N-word in rap music or other songs because it's going too fast to skip it.
One, doing accents is awesome and funny. And if you like rap songs and sing the lyrics that the artist has written, that does not make you racist. I mean, come on. Now, this next guy shows how you deal with these lefties. He encounters a woman in traffic in a Make America Gay Again cap Hilarity ensues.
I like your MAGA hat. Yeah, Trump. Woo. Oh, I know. Trump fan. Trump?
No. It says make America gay again.
Great again.
Gay.
I know, but we love Trump, right?
That is just so amusing. Now, here's alleged comic John Oliver, one of the unfunniest nincompoops to ever call himself a comedian. Here he goes on some bizarre rant arguing that males really...
Liam. Hey, buckle up.
First of all, have you met MAGA? Have you been to a MAGA rally where Trump is mocking a disabled journalist or a POW or saying we should punch him out? I mean, it is rich. And let me tell you, I have been very, very out there on criticizing Trump for that disgusting rhetoric that has coarsened the language around politics. It's gross. He's why we got here. And what she did was disgusting. And I am not going to accept her spin of this. It's disgusting and gross to mock someone who is disabled just because you don't like them. And if Democrats, this is your idea, this is what your party's going to do now, is do Trump, but gross, but worse, and then pretend it's not. I'm not here for this, and please do better. Please, this cannot be the answer for the future of the Democratic Party.
I mean, I think actions speak louder than words. And in this instance, I think we have a president who, when the plane crash happened in Washington, D.C., he blamed it on people with disabilities. When RFK says that autism is a threat to the American way of life, which is a disability, apparently the White House has ended ASL, American Sign Language interpreters, in briefings, which is making it inaccessible. Questioning and gutting Social Security, which a lot of disabled people rely on, Medicaid, Medicare, people rely on. And in his first campaign, mocking disability. Two wrongs don't make a right, but actions speak louder than words. And the policies of the Republican, including undermining special education, ID, the Individuals with Disability and Education Act, making sure that schools are not going to be accessible. Those are the actions of this administration. Those are the actions of the Republican Party. I would rather folks be demonizing those things than.
But to be clear, you don't agree with what she said, right?
Well, her explanation was that she wasn't referring to that policy. If she
So
was,
you buy that.
But here's the thing. If you make fun of somebody because of their disability, I do not agree with that. As a person with a disability, as a person who has family members with a disability, as a person who has taught children with a disability, that is not acceptable. She said that's not what she was doing. And so I know Jasmine, and I believe Jasmine if that's what she was saying.
Well, I don't know her yet. And so here's how I see it. She's new. She's young, and she's trying to find her way. I think that this party is scrambling, trying to seem tough. And I'm seeing this party traffic in a lot of curse words. That's supposed to be like the new cool thing to do. I don't think that's going to be as useful. I even heard Pete Buttigieg with a whole bunch of curse words. I don't know who gave that memo. I don't think that's very useful. I think you have to be very careful when you're talking about people with disabilities. And I don't think she was careful. And I don't know her enough to say she's not being honest. I'm going to tell you, it sounded bad. And I just want to finish. I think this party is trying to find a way to look tough and to show fight. But this is not the way. I don't think the cursing is going to work. I think I've been on stage and I've gotten a little bit hyped sometimes too. I hope that she will take this as lessons. You talked about learning lessons, that type of stuff. It doesn't sound to me like she's actually taking full responsibility. If that's true, I don't like it, and she can't do that again. She's too important to us to do that again.
What I fear is that no lesson could ever be learned as long as you're doing these things in front of audiences who roar when you do it. When you have comedians who are broad messengers for the left making unfair jokes, and people are.
Our client's daughter suffered a brain injury at birth. We found the hospital had ignored warning signs and that the harm was completely preventable. We were able to secure a large award to pay for a lifetime of care. Call the Yost Eagle Group today.
Here she is.
Look,
And we expect that. That's the only effective people.
The View co-hosts were not too fond of her remarks. Take a look.
She's effective. People gravitate towards her. This was beneath her because Marjorie Taylor Greene, we expect that. That's the only way she can get a headline is by saying crazy stuff and then everyone looks. Representative Crockett is so much better than this.
Because I respect her, but it's just never okay to mock someone's disability, whether you're Donald Trump or Jasmine Crockett. And he was paralyzed from the waist down, Governor Abbott. And when he was 29 years old, a tree fell on him. It's a tragedy, whether you like him or not.
I think that
not a good idea.
Yeah, you just don't mock people with disabilities. I mean,
You don't mock
you
people.
don't mock people. I was going to say, you just don't mock people at all. And I admire Jasmine Crockett. I do think she's an effective messenger. I think this was a mistake. And I think when you make a mistake, you have to own it. You have to do that because it gives you a lot more credibility when you do that.
Representative Crockett wrote on X after receiving backlash.
DC, did you have anything on that? Played you a few vids just to how the media on the left is sort of contextualizing all of this the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I rather see her. I rather see her when she's in her element, when she's in Congress, when she's holding house in Congress. That's so. Whenever I talk about her, I don't, because it's going to get politicized because she's such an extreme case, because she doesn't really have a way of filtering out some of the things. She's not careful, you know what I mean? So either the left is split on how the messaging is with her. Oh, I don't like everybody know Van is soft booms for him. Everybody know he's soft as church music. Everybody know that he capitulates too many points. He's not built for that kind of gladiator game or what it is now. Like that is why I think that he's not going to understand the way she is, you know. What she said about him and stuff like that, yeah, I could be wrong. Yeah, it's offensive. It's offensive to a lot of people that got disabilities. True, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Her point was to try to make a political point. She saw leverage and she did it. I don't, like I say, it can't be okay for one side and y'all see the benefit of it and you don't see the benefit of her doing this on the left, even though you may not agree with the policies or agree with what her motive is. Like when you see the so-called shenanigans from Trump or any of these other people that's on the right that call people retarded, they use words that are not very likable. It's just like, oh, that's cool. But this woman is being who she is. You think she's being anybody but who she's really trying to be? You think she's trying to be something else, Paradox?
No, but you see what they're doing though, right?
I do. And I'm saying I see it, but I see it from both sides. I see the left and the right talking crazy about her.
But again, that's why I played the videos though, is that it's interesting, right? It's that based on what you just said about her for the last half hour or so, that you bump it against those videos. This is a political class. This is the media. They move and shake things, and they're speaking for people behind the scenes, of course.
Yep.
Talking about she's new and she don't know better, and she needs to get her stuff together. I said that's interesting.
Yeah, that says a lot.
You know. No, I'm saying it ties back to what we talked about even last week, which was she has to be careful.
Yep.
Because, like I told you, is that it happens on the right too. I don't want to focus on the left today, left-right thing. But I'm just saying from that in that world that they're in, dealing with her specifically, it's interesting because if we want to, let's just say we contrast her to Marjorie Taylor Greene, which I don't think it's a comparison, but just say if we did that, right?
Right.
You notice? Tell me what the right saying about Marjorie Taylor Greene when she say something.
Support.
When do they say something? They just don't say nothing. No, they just don't say nothing.
That's what I'm saying. Either they support it, they don't say nothing.
You don't turn it into no debate. You don't come on a left wing show. You're not gonna go on Fox News or ONA Network, and they're gonna run segments. Democrats, Republicans on stage and run segments on you a Democrat.
It won't happen.
I'm not saying it's insane. Everyone has styles. The left has a style. The right has a style. It is what it is. It's just interesting. I'm telling you is that you're in a weird space because they're trying to form you a certain way. And that's their style of doing it. Yeah. And so it comes off, people can create narratives around it, but this is a process. If you want to be a part of the Democratic Party, like literally be a part of the party itself, not just a supporter of the party, and you're in play, their job, obviously we can watch it play. It's just to mold you and to grow you. AOC is a great example, by the way.
Yeah.
Because guess what happens?
Yeah.
What happens, DC, when you don't comply on the left, and from their style? They'll get you up out of there. They will run a Republican. They'll fund a Republican to get you up out of there if they have to. It's just interesting because that's the penalties on both sides, right? If you're not following the rules on the right, they're primary, no different. If you don't say MAGA Trump, you're primary. You're out of here, right? So those are the rules that you have to bend to. The way the left does it, I just think it's funny just because of how they do it. By the way, that's all I'm saying. It's just a funny. It's like, man, y'all could do this a little bit more quietly, right? Don't run segments on her. Why don't y'all call her on the phone or talk? Pull it to the side. Take it to the back room and have a conversation. Don't create a media business around her and say, well, yeah, we're gonna bring her. We're gonna put her on left wing shows. But we're gonna have right wingers going after her and left. And by the way, not much protection. That's what made it even more weird. By the way. Is that the sister tried to give her a little, I know her, and we friends, she tried to give her a little bit of something, but she didn't go hard like you're supposed to. So then it makes the Republicans look powerful in a lot of ways, right? So S.E. Cupp, who's, I don't know what she is, and Scott, he is what he is too, right? But like to be able to even allow them to go at her that hard, it's confusing. That one scene where you had the two Republicans, and they had to go up against Van Jones and the other sister. Wasn't that an interesting thing based off of who the person is that they're talking about?
Yep.
And this is how it's interesting, man. When you're on the left, when it comes to that type of stuff,
right?
You're trying to be certain things, and it's like, you're in a strange trap, unfortunately. Even with Van Lathan and stuff, the stuff that he was saying, the same thing. It's just like, yeah, you can criticize, but should y'all be turning this into a click stuff? Should you know what I'm saying? Should this be click farming, basically? You're click farming off of her, and then at the same time trying to change her, put pressure on her, because the things that they're saying will affect the voters in her district. You know what I'm saying?
It does.
So you have to be careful. And like I told you, either someone needs to tell her to be more strategic, because you're not protected. That's all I'm going to see. AOC figured it out because she saw what happened to Corey and the other brother Jamal. I think his name is Jamal, right?
Yeah,
Jamal. Bowman. Yeah. So they learned, you have to understand that these people, it's other, like you said, it's other things going on. Racially speaking, class speaking, power, it's other things that are happening. So,
and not only that, she's embarrassing folks on a weekly basis. Paradox. She gets up there and she's like,
and think about them people talking about her behind her back with Democrats, by the way.
That's terrible, bro. That's what I'm saying. That is.
It's obvious that it's happening, though.
You know this.
You know that
you're not gonna fight for it. That's what I'm saying. You're not gonna. You should be the main one up there. That's crazy, bro.
Van. You have Van siding with Republicans on a somewhat left wing channel is just terrifying. Because you need to be a certain way for us to accept you, and if you're not that way, then we're gonna let the wolves have you. Basically, we're gonna let them have you. Yeah, just think. You saw Jamal Bowman is a good example of it. I think. I mean, he's a good example, bro. That was weird, man.
Yeah.
Because you, like you said, now you're messing with people who, by the way, a lot of Jewish people, what is 80%? They vote 80% Democrat, but that's out the window, right? When they want to do what they want to do what they want to do, you got to comply. Forget all the D's and the R's on your name. I need you to comply. Either you support Israel or you don't. But if you don't, good luck out there. Good luck in the world. Good luck in America, especially in New York.
Everybody gets the memo, bro. Everybody
got the memo. But you know what it is, though, right? But like you say, if you're not being smart about it and not being so emotional, maybe I'm not claiming that that's how they are, but you have to understand the complex. Like you said, that's what AOC is catching on to. There's some same with Bernie. That's why he's been there for 40 years and he's a social democrat supposedly. But like that's why you see the complexities of you can have an activist push at a moment in time that put you in power, and you can hold on to that to some degree, but you got to be able to be flexible because they're going to set you up if you don't. Because if you really want to get what you want to get done, you have to mash yourself. You know that. You got to play the game because is there anybody in Congress or in the Senate that is talking crazy all the time?
Ooh,
and they've been there for 10 years, 15 years. They sort of mostly will measure it, and they will pick moments and stuff. And they will pull back. They will support different things that are kind of a contradiction.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why
Lindsey Graham talk crazy, then he shut up.
Yeah. That's why
He'll
they
go
take
off the
off
handle
committee.
about this, and he'll shut up. He'll do a deal, and then it's like, so she has to be careful, because that's what Van is really kind of talking about. Just that the way he's doing it in that setting, it's weird. Because I would have went, if it was me, as far as what
That's
he
behind
is,
the scenes. That's a
I
behind the
would have
scenes.
went off. Why is he? I'd be like, why is he even on
Yeah.
here? What are we talking about
Yeah.
right now? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I was just going, but then the chick on The View, well, she can't. We know what MGT is. No, we don't, because y'all don't talk about her like that. You should be running.
Not-
You should be running on her every day, but you don't. Come on, come on, bro. You
Thank
can't make
you.
it up.
Thank
I say
you.
you can't make it up, bro.
I couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it
Right.
better myself.
Right.
It's
You got so much content with these white folks on the right that's saying all type of wild shit. You don't want to clip that. You don't want to clip
Exactly.
farm that on the left and just run that
Exactly.
over and over again, because again, you're hurting yourself beyond politics.
Yeah.
Now it's culture.
Yeah.
Now it's Western Empire.
Yeah.
All that little stuff is running in the back of your mind, and so you can only hit so hard,
Yeah,
because now you're taking an attack on your own group. And that's a whole other problem.
Because you're at the exposure point. Now you can't
Exposure
hide.
point. So
You
as
can't
a black
hide no more.
person on the left, like a Van, my job is to do what, DC? Cover. Just cover and
her.
deflect.
What the hell am
You
I?
can't see Cup trying to make this black woman that sits next to her be honest. We need to be honest about it. Politics is honest now? Get the fuck out of here. What are we talking about? Stop it.
You're not gonna catch me 5 seconds sitting on CNN
Right.
talking bad on. Are you crazy? What? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right.
Not gonna happen.
And then that
bruh.
gets clipped up and goes to Fox. And then Fox plays them
Exactly.
saying that, bro. Come on. It's just, are you
Dude,
serious?
this is what's so crazy about it. They led with it. That's what I'm saying. Like
They
they
led
talk about
with
it. It's look at. I mean, even the most obscure conservative channels are
I
leading
told
with
you.
her.
Oh, they're leading with it. So I told you something. I told you that. So that show, XM Radio show that we played, it was the reason I was playing it was who they should be talking about is Marjorie Taylor Greene. See what I'm
Exactly
saying?
right.
But if you go to all his shows, he don't talk about it.
Nope.
So like, you're thinking that you're contextualizing your realities through black, which is perfect, but you don't. But I was having a conversation earlier this morning actually, is that I don't know if we want to do it. I don't know if we have an appetite to structure programming and conversations around focusing on them. If you want to do it that way, if you want to balance that out, but you're not balancing out, it's all one way. That's why I keep telling people, I think about the cities and I'm like, well, aren't the cities left? So aren't a lot of the news channels left? But they love leading with my face in every city in America for some strange reason. Cover me up. I may be doing some things I shouldn't be doing, and we have courts and police to deal with all of that stuff, right? But you don't got to lead. Don't lead with me though. Like keep me like you're supposed to hire me. Show some other folks. Show some other people that's doing something that's wrong. If you're looking out for me.
And what I'm saying is, she whipped ass all week on that all week, bruh. Bringing up laws, bringing up things that they were doing, making a contrast between this and that and the other. And they don't play that. You ain't gonna find the right playing that at all. And like I said, she's screaming at the other people. Like I'm talking about her having screaming matches with these folks, bruh. No cover, bruh. That's what I'm saying. That's really
like you said, I know. Then it rolls back into racial things because, like, well, why don't Kamala? Why don't she act more like Kamala? Well, what does that mean?
Let's see.
Why don't she?
See what I'm saying?
Like,
and Kamala and Kamala was the one that told her to do what? Just be you. You do who you can't be me. Be who you are. You see what I'm saying? Don't try to be me. You see how it's working for me. These people got.
Let me ask you this question.
Hold on. These people confused about everything about me.
Now I get that we live in Alice in Wonderland, right? So like, how can the left is saying, well, I will protect you if you act this way, because if you act like who you really are, which is what they on the left is supposed to be embracing, then that means that she turns y'all off.
Right.
The next question is, well, why? Because to me, she sounds normal. I don't see anything but just a normal human American person talking. So what exactly are you guys offended by? And why does she have to
That's
act
all
that
I'm
way?
saying.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
Because remember, she don't want Republican votes necessarily.
Nope.
Necessarily, right? She'll take them, but she ain't pushing that. She's pushing the left.
She's literally solidifying.
So now you're telling me that people on the left don't like black people. Is what you're telling me then on some level, right? Elizabeth Warren. And when I say that, Elizabeth, I mean not moderates. I mean the left.
Yeah, let's
Elizabeth
get it out
Warren, Bernie Sanders,
I agree.
on and on, right? So you're telling me that I can be black and be in the party. You can support minorities and people of color, but I have to make sure though that I'm a certain kind of black, which is supposed to be on the right, not the left.
Exactly
because the left
right.
said be however you want to be. The last time I checked,
be
you're
yourself.
telling me that you're more supportive of a white boy pretending to be a female than you are a black person being a black person in America and develop how developed her mannerisms through the cultures of America over hundreds of years. That's wrong. But a dude can be a girl, support that, don't say nothing about that. Like, you don't talk about that.
Facts.
It's confusing, bro. That's confusing, man.
You cooking with fish grease. Anyway, I'm gonna end it on that, man. We can end it, man.
Yeah,
we can get up
let's
on
lock
out
it,
of
shut
here.
it down.
Yeah, because I gotta go take care of your niece anyway, man. We got family situation, so
Oh, absolutely.
we're
Cool,
going
cool,
out
cool.
of here.
This is the Code Breakers. This is Paradox.
This is DC. Until next time, peace.
Peace.